Our story begins with a group of slaves gathering and piling up sand, and some of them are hauling water too. Others are gathering a bit of straw as well. But up above, there's someone calling the shots, bossing around all those slaves. If they don't move fast enough, they'll get whipped. Merciless lashes that tear right through their bodies. This young guy, lugging a log with a goblin sitting on top, doesn't have it easy at all. Sweat and blood cover his whole body. That's just an utterly unbearable life of slavery. But for you to really get how it all started, we need to dive into a bit of history. The strongest man in the world, champion at just 27 years old, an undefeated MMA leader for 2 years straight. This guy racked up about 23 wins, 0 losses. The heavyweight champ of the biggest MMA league on the planet. The guy was so good that he retired without a single loss. And his name was Choi Kim Jong-un. In South Korea, this guy was Choi, but that's how he retired. And it was in that way that he met the isekai truck. Poor guy. The money he spent his whole life saving up for retirement just vanished. This guy worked so hard, he died in his 20s. Single. All this guy ever did was fight. Until he died. 30 minutes after he died, he was already in a totally different place. While he was thinking that, now that he's dead, he wouldn't have to fight anymore, eat, or defend his title. And he didn't have any family or friends, so no one would even be sad about his death. Suddenly, in that weird place, a light starts shining super bright. And he's like, what the heck is going on? That light turns into a portal, and out of it we see an arm sticking out. Well, out comes a fairy, apologizing for being late. And she even calls him an S-class hero. Yep. And she introduces herself as Rachel. She's a headhunter who recruits people whose lives have ended on Earth. And he only caught the recruit part because he was distracted by something else. You realize this guy died a virgin. He moves closer and asks her explain more while calling her an angel. Well, she says he's got 2 choices. The first, just accept death as it is and wait for your next life to roll around as a hopeless single guy. And the other option is to come back to life right now as a hero destined to save an entire world that's waiting just for him. When he hears the word hero, he thinks there's got to be a bunch of girls. But is that how it's going to go? Naturally, he needs a moment to think this over. Oh, looks like he's about to blow the chance of a lifetime. The chance of death? If he says yes, he could score riches, fame, women, and even some special perks. On top of that, they're even throwing in a bonus status window that lets him level up, just like a video game character. Honestly, there's no way this guy's turning that down. Looks like one way or another, he's gonna have to fight and play the hero. And the guy just barely retired. And now she wants him to jump back into battle. That fairy is starting to lose her cool. This guy has no clue what she's even talking about. She spells it out. If he becomes hero in another world, the village chief will literally run to you barefoot just to serve you food. When started, all he has to do is knock out a few super easy quests, piece of cake. Then, right at that moment, the chief will show up, totally moved. And he's got a daughter he wants to introduce to our hero. And of course, this girl will be the most beautiful woman in the whole village. And that's how he's supposed to win over a few ladies. Well, this story isn't sounding all that convincing to me. And he's not buying any of it either. The girl uses plan B, as not interested. She just assumes he's turned her down and gets ready to leave. And she wishes him a wonderful life as a bachelor. But the moment he hears the word bachelor, he asks her to wait up. But she shoots him a super mischievous look and says there's absolutely no guarantee that he'll even come back as a person in his next life. He might just get reincarnated as a tiny cockroach. Whoa. Just imagine a bachelor cockroach. He grabs onto her foot as she keeps on walking. He shouts that hell accept, but she pretends she didn't catch that and asks him to say it again. While he's clinging tightly to her feet, he starts hugging her and yelling, saying he's totally down to become this hero. Ah, awesome. That's what she wanted. So now, let's get the preparations rolling. Let's go. Wow, she's fast right now. Of course. Why would she wait to send him off to that wonderful world? He begs her to wait because he needs to get ready. What, prepare for what? There's no time to get ready right now. He's a hero and there's a whole world waiting for him. And all he's got to do now is have an epic adventure. If he's going there no matter what, why did he spend much time overthinking? Oh, so that means if he hadn't agreed, she would have sent him anyway. Right into that world? And then she gets a call and says the hero. Number 137,000, Choi Ryusak, has just now completed his transmigration. A little farther away from there, someone's calling out to him, asking him to wake up, and it seems like he's sitting on a rock-hard bed with a super comfy wooden pillow. He still hasn't opened his eyes, but he's thinking, is this the village chief the angel was talking about? Well, things aren't exactly kicking off the way he was hoping. The guy starts yelling, saying if he doesn't wake up, he's gonna rip his eyes out. And then bam, he gets punched right in the gut. He jumps up from that rock-hard bed, super ticked off, clenches his fists and asks, what kind of lunatic has a death wish? But when he opens his eyes to see who just hit him, he spots a buff dude. The guy keeps going, who think you are? Sleeping in the slaves' dormitory? You useless punk? Yikes. Just looking at this guy. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna have a gorgeous daughter. And he keeps telling the guy that he's a hero. But this guy doesn't really buy it and just starts laughing in his face. He gets closer and says that heroes these days are pretty dumb. And honestly, pretty weak too. Just look at that physique. Our hero's starting to think something's off here. Is this angel? Is playing some kind of prank on him first? Maybe this dude with the cow head is his starter mission. Yeah, actually, looks like things are going just like he thought. All he's got to do now is kick off his mission and take that guy down. Cowhead. The guy turns around to see what this dude is up to, but a kick is already flying straight at his head while he's yelling at that monster tutorial helper, "Die!" Whoa, he made that kick right in the middle of that red face, but that kick didn't even scratch this monster. He grabs the guy's foot and asks if he seriously just called himself a hero. The veins on that guy start popping out, and he squeezes the guy's leg, saying he's had enough of all this nonsense. Crazies like this guy just keep popping up. The dude's grip is so strong that he feels like his feet are really getting crushed. The guy winds up for a right hook, saying that after a good beating, he'll remember who he is. Oh dear, self-proclaimed hero. Well, so after sleeping for so long, he just went right back to sleep again, in a way that was a bit forced. That place was basically an underground prison. After he woke up, he went totally nuts in there, yelling for someone to open that door and to bring that cowhead guy back. For round 2, well, his prayers get answered. Someone opens that door and right away tells him he's being way too loud. Guy comes in, presses his bloody sword against him, and says that if he keeps yelling, he's gonna cook him up whole in a soup. Yeah, seeing that bloody sword, he decided to keep quiet. That guy, even though he's small, is a goblin warrior. He shuts the door again and says he's going to keep an eye on him. He realized this so-called adventure is absolutely wild. Hez also in another world, and he still hasn't found the part where he becomes a hero. Where did he go wrong, huh? Poor guy. There's not going to be any chief's daughter from any village. Looks like he's going to die a virgin for the second time. Up above, there's a tiny window, and from there, he hears someone calling his name. That guy's a veteran, self-proclaimed, almost there up, and he says they are in the fortress, the one that enslaves humans and keeps them as slaves. He wants to know, how the heck did they end up in this hole? Right off the bat, the guy starts yelling, asking if all the self-proclaimed heroes are still alive. And he starts shouting the real hero has arrived to save everyone. Well, down those prison corridors, a bunch of voices yell, saying the self-proclaimed hero is here. And some of them are even begging to be rescued because, hey, they're heroes too, for real. Whoa, there are over 100 heroes who ended up in that fortress. The Demon King's army. That red bull-headed guy he saw earlier. Here's the boss here. His name is Heindrum. And that prison guard he saw before, the green goblin dude, is called Jarp. This guy's got a reputation for being super cruel. Had better watch his step because his threats are definitely not empty. But there's still another reason why they all ended up as slaves like that. And her name is the evil demoness, Rachel. Everyone blames that little angel from before. She had the power to choose to decide where they would be reborn. And she picked for them to be reborn right inside a prison, as slaves, no less. He also starts asking the guy why they didn't start out somewhere better. Apparently some heroes who got captured in different places simply told him the whole truth. Most of the heroes start out in towns and villages, and they usually live normal lives without any powers. But even so, none start their journey smack in the middle of the Demon King's army. In other words, the reason he landed in hell, locked up as a helpless slave, was all because of that angel, Rachel? If that's true, she's more of a demon than an angel. That's the second squad of slaves under the 3rd Battalion of the Demon King's army. While they haul these massive tree trunks, all they hear is a song, chanting about crushing humans and devouring humans, all day long. And under the stars, the work is finally done for today. At last, it's time to head back. While he works, all he can think about is that one day, he's gonna make that short, chubby goblin regret ever enslaving him. He's already back in his cell. He remembers that Angel was saying he'd get some special privileges as a hero. He also had a certain status window as a special privilege. But how the heck do you activate it? So he tries. Window. Right at the start of the game, it pops up in front of him with his status info. Name, Shoei. Prison level 1, strength 28, agility 29, stamina 31, and mana 10. Yep, those numbers are definitely indeed his status stats. And he's even got a pickaxe skill. While he's busy talking to himself, guy in the cell overhears that he's got about 31 points of stamina. And his strength is around 28 too. Earlier, he mentioned he was a champion, which means his stats actually got a boost, even though he's level 1. But this guy is still a slave. But the dude's totally convinced that if it's him, he's gonna break out of there for sure. Here he goes again with his motivational pep talk. He flops onto his bed and covers his ears, while another says normal people would only have a pickaxe skill at this point. But in his case, that's super rare. But as he's listening to all this, he knows that he's got the pickaxe skill too, just like everyone else. And even so, he's still just a measly level 1. How is he supposed to escape? After a few moments, the other guy finally dozed off. Now, he decides to check his status again, just to be sure. Well, look at that. There are 2 things here that look pretty promising. Mana, which gives you superhuman strength, and also these mysterious hero points. Even those fake heroes know about these points, but nobody's ever actually managed to get any points. Then that dark cell starts to light up with a kind of familiar power. And from that light, once again appears that girl. She's about to spill everything he needs to know about hero points. Now maybe we'll finally figure out if she's actually an angel. or if she's more of a demon, hero points are a super important resource because they can make a hero's life way easier. While she kept going on about how these points can be earned by completing quests, and then he could use them, he grabs the fairy and squeezes her with his hands. Man, this guy couldn't care less about these hero points, or whatever it is she's rambling about. All that dumb fairy deserves is a good old smackdown. Well, sometime after all that arguing, on a fishing rod, while she was apologizing because she never imagined that his magic circle was broken, just because she spilled a tiny bit of coffee while snacking. But there was a soundproofing spell activated, and now, as punishment, she ended up becoming his manager. Yeah, that's it. She kept apologizing, but honestly, there's probably a better word for it, like personal fairy. She's still super scared to be around him, at least until he defeats the Demon King. Unfortunately, our boy couldn't care less about this whole hero business. All he wants to do right now is just sleep. What? This guy doesn't even plan on defeating the Demon King. Looks like all this guy wants to do is just live a totally normal life there. And man, there are a ton of heroes who get reincarnated and also just want to chill and live a peaceful life like that. But this dude's got S-rank potential. S. Oh boy. But that potential means absolutely nothing to him. That doesn't mean he's obligated to do anything. The fairy is totally freaked out hearing all this, while he kept going, saying he doesn't really want to live his life fighting, like he did in his last life. Good night, I'm going to sleep. Now she realized this guy has always been like this. He wasn't just some meathead who only knew how to fight. He also liked the ladies. Poor thing. She has no idea how to get this guy to follow her plans, and she definitely doesn't want to become Shoi's personal fairy. She's made a few mistakes. But for someone with her level of experience to end up as the personal fairy of a loser like this, too much. They want her to stick by this guy's side until he manages to take down the Demon King. But the big boss up there says his decision is final and must be respected. As a personal fairy, she's supposed to be subordinate to the chosen hero and actively cooperate and go through all the ups and downs together with the hero. And that's how she ended up inside the Demon Fortress, right where Shoi was. Oh, and just one more thing. She also couldn't go back until she finished her mission. Poor thing. From now on, all she could do was scream. That she didn't want to be tossed aside into the filthy human world. But inevitably, she got teleported anyway. Oh boy. Anyway, personal fairy has to obey everything her hero says, which means she should help out with his escape plan. So early in the morning, some goblins start banging on the door, and he wakes up in a flash, all freaked out and clutching tight. But this time, unlike before, there are about 3 goblins at the door now, armed to the teeth, yelling that his meat better wake up now. And he keeps racking his brain about what to do while still clutching the fairy. But the fairy suddenly starts yelling that she can use magic, invisibility magic alone. Then that goblin warrior swings the door open and says that Lord Heindram is calling for him. That useless fairy just hid herself, scared witless. So now in Heindram's office, he heard that he's been a good slave lately, and he's been working a lot. And that goblin even managed to snag himself a sweet mount too. Yeah, looks like that goblin actually praised him. Heindram thought he was a mad human at first, but now he realizes this guy is really putting in the effort, and because of that, he's got a proposal for him. How about becoming the big boss of the slaves? That's wild. Oh man, but this offer he's only making because the work pace has been way too slow these days. The fairy whispers to him, telling him not to accept. How could a hero stoop so low as to join the Demon King's army officers? There's no way he can do something like that. A goblin heard some kind of hissing sound, and Heindram heard it too. But our boy, shaking with fear, slammed his head on the table and thanked them, firmly accepting his new role, while the goblin collapsed on the floor. Poor thing. And just like that, he managed to make a second impression on Heindram. Apparently that monster is starting to like that slave. If he does the job well, he'll write a special letter of admission to the Demon King's army. That's all he had to say. Now, he can leave. So now what's gonna happen to his escape plan then? A few days later, this guy is working well, that he even got the other slaves to sing the grand anthem of the Demon King's army. And the lyrics said that they should defeat the humans and devour them and offer their bodies and lives to the Demon King. While everyone was working, there was this guy up on top of the tower yelling at everyone to work and move faster. As he said that, he ate piece of fruit, bragging that even his great-grandma could run faster than this. And what a treat. He even set quotas for the slaves to meet each day. Sheesh. And the hero system said that by leading a bunch of people for a long time, his hidden skill, charisma, shot up like crazy. Meanwhile, he was shouting that being the boss of the slaves was way better than being a slave. The people down below were thinking this guy totally lost it. Some even said he was a hopeless hero. That guy, a hero? No way. While he grinned at his own brilliant work, the fairy was super worried. And all he kept telling her was, trust the process, just trust. While some slaves were collapsing because they just couldn't work now, hauling all that stuff, he was yelling that everyone had to keep working. And what a treat. Heindram's approval of him shot way up and now has just a few steps away from reaching his goal. What a wonderful thing. He was even waving at Heindram from afar. But the fairy kept shouting, asking him, how on earth is he planning to escape from that place? If he works like this, she thought this guy wanted to get out of there, but apparently not. Mr. Hero? Oh boy. This guy is just doing whatever the system tells him to. And then the system is part of the hero's duty, right? She just can't believe that raising the approval rating of a Demon King's army officer is actually part of a hero's quest, but he swears he's telling the truth. Then he starts reading the quest out loud to her. You, who ended up inside the Demon King's army fortress because of this dumb mistake. It keeps going like that. The fairy said the system was supposed to be a friendly program that could only use neutral language. Something's not right here. He cleans out his ear and says that an S-class hero system, maybe, it's a little different from what she's used to. So last night, while they were arguing that he couldn't accept that offer, all he wanted to do was crash on that rock-hard bed. But she kept stealing his blanket. This fairy was really starting to get on his nerves. And to top it all off, it's all her fault. And it was that night that first quest began. He might feel a little hard done by, like someone who just found out they're out of toilet paper. But don't lose hope. Luckily, you've been given a chance. All he has to do, win over the approval of the Demon King's army officer, Heindram. He'll become a real hero if he the enemy. And the reward was 100 hero points. Wow, even he couldn't believe this story. And nowadays, he kept making the slaves sing the anthem of the Demon King's Army 3rd Corps. That was his mission. That's it. While she was trying to change the mission details, she figured only the higher-ups would have the power to change that kind of thing. So why would they do that to Mr. Shoei? The goblin comes closer, calling for his mount. Heindram was calling him into his office again. All right, here we go again. Maybe this time he'll even get a promotion. Heindram is super happy. He heard that the productivity of the slaves has gone up drastically. And apparently, it's all thanks to the newest slave chief. It was nothing. It's all thanks to Mr. Heindram's wise decisions. Oh my goodness, this guy is sucking up so hard, he might as well start licking boots. That's some next level brown nosing. Going to work, so that's that. With Heindram happy with the slaves' production, he achieved his goal of getting approval, and the hero mission was a success. That way, he managed to score 100 hero points, and the beginner hero shop was unlocked with his very first points. Yeah, it actually worked out pretty well. Looks like his plan is actually working out. Now that the approval mission is done, it's time to move on to the next part of the plan. He asks if he can train the slaves. Well, nobody asked to train anyone there, but he starts working his magic on that guy. Just imagine, what if you had a squad of elite slaves, like top tier, working together as a team and moving like a single person? In other words, slaves who are total discipline experts doing work of 3 people without breaking a sweat or slacking off at all. With slaves like that, building the fortress could be done in just a single week. But Heindram knows that humans are too weak to work and train at the same time. But if he thinks he can pull it off, then Heindram will allow it. Like that. The second stage of his plan is going off without a hitch. He thanks that gentleman and heads out. Already outside, the fairy is thinking that this human, this hero, he is out of his mind. One, this guy lowers himself to the Demon King's army, and now he's even training slaves. Poor thing. Maybe she'll have to spend the rest of her life as a subordinate to this human. That fairy never shuts up. She causes noise. So he decides to let her in on part of the plan. And she thinks this guy's planning to do, again, well, he's planning to use the slaves to kick off a rebellion. That fortress has around 3,000 slaves and also about 500 Demon King soldiers. Also, there's a human alliance base not too far from that fortress. That's why they're working full throttle on this construction. In case a rebellion breaks out, they can escape there and ask the human alliance for backup. Oh, looks like Mr. Hero isn't just a dummy after all. She's actually starting to fall for him now. All he's got to do now is check out the mission reward. And since he scored some hero points, that means that mission he was talking about earlier wasn't a lie. And now there's even something called the hero shop. He opens up his system, just praying there's really something good in there. Just imagine if there are some totally overpowered skills inside. The system freezes while he's thinking he's about to score an amazing skill. Oh my gosh, he learned F rank breathing. And also holding in crap at F rank? Does this skill literally help him hold in his poop better? Holy moly. The rest of his skills are cooking, doing laundry. Oh man, seriously, these are the skills every hero needs. Well, the fairy figures these skills are there because honestly, it's just a level 1 shop. If he racks up more points and levels up his shop, he'll find something way more useful. That guy gets super annoyed and tells her to shut up, you damn cheater, while she tries to fly away. Well, the next day, he goes to train his group of slaves who are even calling him Demon King now. And now they're about to start singing the anthem of the 3rd Army Corps, of all things. So they keep going, singing that wild anthem that said they were going to kill humans, eat humans, and all that jazz, a story made just for demons. Meanwhile, Heindram was super pumped. Good thing he let him train the slaves. Then the goblin walks into the room. Has got some seriously valuable info for leader Heindram. There's a massive human army marching straight toward them. Word is, even the 8th Army Division got totally wiped out after falling right into their trap. Whoa, that 8th Division is the biggest unit. They've got in that whole area. If it really did get taken out, it's just a matter of time before they get here. They might even have to ditch this fortress, which is almost finished. The goblin starts yelling that they need to evacuate right now, but he tells Jark to hold on while he watches that human training the slaves. He remembers that since ancient times, wars have always been battles of military supplies, and the first rule of war is never lose a competent supply officer, a really competent one. He tells Jark to go on ahead, that he'll take care of Shoy, and then catch up with them later. Suddenly, the tower door gets blown up with a massive blast, and then he hears the noise. Yeah, for real, combat training's getting cancelled. All thanks to that guy keeping watch. While he's still checking his skills, the boss is up there on top of the tower. Oh man, he was really hoping for some kind of repetitive event to help him level up his skills. But then the boss drops down right behind him and scares the life out of him. He totally didn't expect the boss to show up like that out of nowhere. Heindram grabs him, saying there's no time to explain anything. He better come with him right now. And outside, there's a whole army of humans shouting that victory is going to be theirs. And like that, the battle kicks off. They're facing an army of human spearmen and a squad of goblin warriors. Just as Heindram was about to make a run for it, one of the humans yells that this guy is the Red Nightmare Heindram. The best soldiers, the knights, are going to take on this enemy. That way, victory tastes sweet. Meanwhile, our boy can't figure out why there are so many human troops here. But hey, maybe this is the golden opportunity he just wished for. No, the chance to stab in the back and sneak his way back into human society? Demon. And just like that, return to the human world. One of the soldiers charges forward, shouting that today is the day the nightmare dies. But in a flash, he gets intercepted by the commander's massive hand grabbing his head. The commander's strength is off the charts. He actually manages to crush the soldier's head in his grip. While our boy is watching all this go down, Heindram slams the soldier's head into the ground. He hit so hard that he dented the iron helmet that was part of the guy's armor, along with his skull. And just like that, the captain unleashed a wave of destruction. A massive explosion swept across the entire battlefield, wiping out a bunch of human soldiers in one go. Guy's strong, and if our hero tried to stab him in the back, that would be the end of him. No doubt about it. He just said he's getting out of there right now. Well, sometime after that deadly battle, all the soldiers are gathered together, searching for the citizens of the Kingdom of Mario, and also for the people of Drazen. And they're also on the lookout for a few warriors. They treat captured warriors in a way that's totally different. Thank goodness. Now finally, they're going to be treated like real warriors. Oh, and there's someone over there waiting for the newest warriors to arrive. The great Olafin Grimir, the Duke of the Drazi Empire, commander of the Allied forces. In fact, the evacuation of the service was totally wrapped up, and they managed to recruit everyone who claimed to be a warrior. Now it's go time. All the soldiers are getting into position now and draw their swords. And now they're about to take out every warrior standing in their way. Well, but not too far from there. Our protagonist is bawling his eyes out, thinking he blew his golden chance to finally get his second shot at life. Goodbye, my adventure. Goodbye, everything. As he sobs, he thinks about how that guy just blew up the heads of everyone who was chasing them. So there's no one left on their tail. The fairy tells him not to worry. After all, they're heading straight to the Demon King's army HQ. That way they'll get a better grip on what's going on. Whoa, looks like the Red Warrior heard something. Did he say something? He had just dozed off a second ago, so he totally missed it. Oh, he was just mumbling to himself and didn't say a word. He can go back to sleep, no worries. They're almost at the Third Corps HQ once they get there. He's going to enlist him officially into the Demon King's army. Whoa, hearing that, he died inside, while the fairy is left in total disbelief. But all he could say was that it was an honor, an absolute honor. And it didn't take long before they reached the HQ gates. Now, all he has to do is follow him to the commander's office. Yup, but our boy is just so incredibly honored to be meeting the commander this soon. Look at his face. Seriously, what an honor. But hey, watch your words, unless you got a death wish. As the saying goes, there's an old proverb. If you keep calm and patient, you can survive even in a tiger's den. He's not about to give up on life anytime soon. All right then, they arrive at a place that's totally different and super fancy. Remus tells him to come in, and he realizes it's a woman's voice. Wait, could the commander be a woman? Well, everything we see just confirms what he's thinking. Hold on, who's that over there? If it isn't Heindram, this is the commander of the Demon King's 3rd Army Corps, Remus. Our boy just can't believe how someone that gorgeous could actually be a commander in the demon army. His shaking in his boots while he tries to figure out if he should compliment her looks too. Unfortunately, he just couldn't do it. He failed to protect his fortress, and now he's totally embarrassed. Oh, and he only lost his fortress because the 8th Division fell. It is not even his fault. Bound to happen. Perfect. A bag made from that guy's skin. She says that while radiating this insane pressure, our protagonist can barely breathe. As she points out that guy came back alive, but as a total loser, the pressure pouring off this demon lady's body is on a whole different level from anything he's ever faced before. Oh boy, whatever. She stands up and asks, who's this human? And why did he bring him here? Oh, that human over there is Shui. And this is the human he kept talking about in his report. He's just here to enlist in the demon army, that's all. She walks up and starts touching him, checking his handsomeness. And he's a talent personally picked by Reinhard. Should she actually have high hopes for this guy? But our boy suddenly starts yelling, saying he's gonna do his best, while shaking in his boots all over again. After giving him a squeeze, she figures that scrawny body of his won't last long in this army. Oh, he agrees. And he also thinks the others are gonna eat him alive. He tells her not to worry about some random human joining up with the demon army, and with her permission, he'll train the guy himself. She yells and points her finger, shouting, no way. He can't waste his time on some mere human. After saying, she kicks off her transformation. Her aura, which was already terrifying, got much scarier. And her head turned into some kind of flower, blooming wide open, with a venom tongue popping out, mixed with a whole bunch of teeth. Man, when our boy saw that scene, he totally lost all his crush vibes for that demonic girl anymore. From inside her mouth, she pulls out her pet. Head's now in charge of taking care of it. This little cutie's name, Bobo. And judging by its face, it's in the mood to play. But like, how is this thing even considered a dog? Head's pretty sure this creature is one hellish demon, straight out of the depths of hell. Even though this beast is just a puppy, Hendrik can feel power radiating from that creature. Now you're in deep trouble. My protagonist buddy, that girl thinks he didn't like her adorable dog, or maybe she's just wrong. But hey, he snaps to attention for her, saying it's an honor to take care of Bobo as a human. Ah, now that's what she likes to hear. So she just tosses the dog right at him. All he's got to do is feed this beast, because he gets super mad when he's hungry. And the last caretakers he had, well, they all got killed and eaten by him. So the dog barely lands in his arms and already starts chowing down on his delicious meal. A little while later, that dog even had his own house in the fairy's place. She was super mad and yelling, asking if that hero had a new mission, but he just asked her to keep it down or hell, wake up the dog. And yeah, he actually did have a new mission. It was the hero's mission, and now he became Bobo's caretaker. Nobody really knows why this idiot has to do this, but he's got to tough it out. And hey, the world of the living is way better than the world of the dead. Even if you're living like a piece of trash, survive by winning Bobo's affection, and the system wishes him a bright future. That mission is going to net him about 200 hero points, and the only goal is to earn the trust of the dog. All right then. A few hours go by and a goblin knocks on the door, calling out for that disgusting human. He bows, greeting the goblin, and quickly saying his name, Shoi Anazuki. While thinking that a goblin is a caretaker, they're just treating him like a snack. But where are the other veterans? Well, unfortunately, everyone else is dead. Now he's going to teach him how to prepare Bobo's famous meal. All right, if he's got it all down, it's time to move that fine human butt. But right behind him, Bobo is already awake. He puts his paws on the goblin's shoulders and starts licking that shiny, beautiful green bald head. The goblin runs, grabs the hero's leg and says he's got a fresh human, warm, just for him. Bobo is drooling. Wait, weren't they supposed to be making a meal? What's this guy even doing? But the goblin tells him to shut up, called weak. One of them is gonna die here anyway, so it might as well be him. But nope, not a chance. Protagonist ties up the goblin and tosses him right at Bobo, shouting that there's a special snack just for him. While Bobo enjoyed his little green snack, our hero just watched. And it looks like he really enjoyed that lovely meal. Oh boy, the worst is over. For him anyway, because the girl, the fairy, is running back and forth while Bobo is trying to gobble her up. Bobo keeps jumping, trying to catch the fairy. She was screaming for help, but all he said was for her to stop running or else he'd get hungry again. While he was checking his system, he spotted something that caught his eye. One item, big bone. This item can attract Canaanite pipe monsters. And there was one skilled monster enchant, but he'd have to spend about 30 hero points. He calls out to Bobo, holding the bone in his hand, and asks if he wants it, then throws the bone far away, shouting for Bobo to fetch it. Bobo's a clever one. He snatches the bone. That way, he managed to give the fairy a break. If Head found it a little earlier, she wouldn't have gotten so tired. Oh well, it's all thanks to his genius mind. He never misses a single detail. While he was busy bragging, Bobo was bouncing around, thirsty for more, but he was pretty quick. With just one step, he dodged out of the way. Whoa, man, the bone wasn't enough. I'm starting to think he wants a little bit of fresh meat, human meat, if possible. If that's on the menu, as he stares down that rabid, demonic dog, he's racking his brain for a way not to get eaten. That beautiful creature, that canine, starts to growl. And finally he thinks of it, the magic word that can calm down any angry dog, make them chill out, walkies. He hadn't heard that word before. Bobo's whole attitude does a total 180. From a mad dog, near devouring human, he almost turns into a poodle. So now that they're outside, as they're running, he tries to find the kitchen by listening, but he can't smell any food anywhere. But then she spots a goblin and decides to ask him. He shouts at the goblin, asking for some info, while the goblin wonders, what the heck is a human doing here? But Bobo also gets up close with his terrifying aura, and the goblin starts shaking in his boots. Meanwhile, our hero says it's time to take Bobo for a walk. Ah, and Bobo starts licking his next meal. He says he started caring for Bobo today. Where's the kitchen? A goblin bolts off immediately, shouting that it's to his left. The fairy and the hero are totally confused. Like, why did he get so freaked out? Is this guy part of the demon army? So off he goes on his quest for meat in the kitchen. This is just too funny. But will he really take care of that little demon dog forever for the rest of his life? But hey, he's got a dream to find a beautiful girl, a blonde, and marry her. But suddenly, he realizes Bobo is gone, right in the middle of saying the word marry. Oh man, if he doesn't find that dog fast, things are going to get really messy for him. He only looked away for a second, and the dog vanished. If that pup eats someone, oh boy, things are going to get totally out of hand for the fairy. She's searching from up above, and I think she spotted something. There's Bobo. He was really starting to get worried. Well, Bobo showed up with his mouth all bloody. Oh, dude, he was totally munching on someone. And that someone is none other than Commander Regis. Now the guards are on high alert. Who did this? Poor guy. Now our hero's in big trouble. The fairy thinks it was Bobo, and I do. And now they're fleeing warriors, goblins. While he's holding, run for it, he runs smack into a dead end. That's the filthy human who killed the commander. Once this is all over, he's gonna eat one of his arms and turn the rest into a tasty drumstick. One of the goblins always wondered what the commander tasted like, and he hopes he hasn't digested him fully. Oh, they're gonna split the two of them up. Our hero is racking his brain for a way out. Nowhere starts yelling, "How dare you!" He points his finger right at the crowd of goblins and asks if they don't know who this noble dog is, huh? This dog is no ordinary magical creature. He's not a random monster. Well, what a lack of respect. Coming from a goblin soldier in the demon army, no less. He grabs the dog and starts showing him off to everyone like, this right here is Bobo. One goblin recognizes Bobo, the little pet of Commander Hermes. Oh man, this guy can't be serious. No doubt about it. But what if he's actually telling the truth? Awkward. How could mere warriors not recognize Bobo? And then he tells Bobo to activate beast mode and sends Bobo charging in. Poor goblin. While Bobo gets to work, he just sits back and watches. A dog loose without its handler is dangerous. That's a disaster. But hey, that's exactly what they needed to figure out if he was telling the truth or just bluffing. Is there anyone out there doubting that this is really Bobo? Don't think so. A system message pops up, has tamed some demons, and his charisma stat just shot up. He didn't even know that was a thing for him. All that chaos got super loud, and it caught the attention of a few people in place. And there she is, the commander herself. She walks in grinning, saying she's been up to some pretty interesting stuff right there. A little while later, in M's office, he spilled the beans and told her everything that happened. So basically that means he used her name and Bobos too, just to stay alive. Oh man, he drops to the floor, begging for forgiveness because, let's be real, he committed a major sin and he totally deserves a punishment that fits the crime. Twist not what he thought. She actually said it was more like a compliment. She tells him to take a seat while she grabs his chin and starts stroking it. Yep, he's definitely human, but unlike a bunch of idiots around there, he's actually pretty sharp and he's really brave. She sits back down again and says that the demon army tends to solve everything with brute force, which has been causing a ton of problems, and soon hell find out. But as for him, just a rookie, has he ever thought about becoming an executive? What? Just like that with his skills, he could become an executive? But he says that would be super hard given where he's at right now. But sadly, she can't just let him keep on using her name like that, or Bobo's name either. In that demon army, he can duel and take his opponent's position, and she's gonna give him about a month to get ready, as she cares for him. But after that, he's gotta win against the opponent she picks for him. And with every victory, she'll extend her protection for another month. That way, he'll have a shot at climbing up slowly, maybe even all the way to battalion commander. She explains, he's wondering, what if he loses? Oh, but if he loses, he shouldn't expect a quick death. As she opens up part of her head, she adds that Hellwish head died in battle instead. Well, he had no choice but to accept this deal, otherwise he was gonna die in that room anyway. She even picked his opponent right then and there. The fairy is convinced he's going to die in a month, and then Shell finally get to return to the heavens. But he remembers that she said his talent, his potential, was SSS rank. Oh boy, this guy has no idea what potential actually means. It's just a possibility. There's absolutely no guarantee he actually has that power. Ugh, this useless fairy is good for nothing. She can't even give a pep talk to cheer him up. As they walk along, they arrive at the kitchen, a super uplifting place with red ketchup splattered everywhere. He steps in slowly, politely asking for permission. Ah, true. This must be the human the commander mentioned. That over there is Chef Kukan, and he does not look like a friendly guy. He only came over to grab a bit of fresh meat for Bobo's little snack. Oh boy. Bobo keeps switching caretakers. Every single week, someone fires him. Sadly, that won't help him, because why should he help a human like that? The only order he got from Commander Emis was not to lay a finger on him. That's it. And yet, he keeps on insisting. Is there anything he can actually do to help Bobo in the end? Oh, so that guy really wants some meat. He notices there are a bunch of green goblins chopping up meat. And honestly, that meat looks super green to me. Could it be goblin meat? If this human wants meat, head better grab it just like they're doing. Now I get it. That meat is made from Patel, the guy who died yesterday. And look, they're all super happy about it. Looks like that guy's tastier than he seemed. And he said those guys were just cooks. They look way more like butchers to me. And that guy doesn't even look like a goblin. He's totally an orc. So that means he's got to go hunting himself. But where is he supposed to hunt? Well then, a little farther from there, he finally realized who's on the menu for dinner next. While he was wondering how he even ended up in that mess, that giant pig managed to take down Morgan. He calls it a hunt, but honestly that thing just keeps charging forward and killing nonstop. Meanwhile, they're only managing to give that pig a couple of tiny scratches. So there's no way to tell who's going to end up as dinner. The fairy is thinking now would be a great time to run for it. But she's kidding. Does she really think he could actually escape from a crowd that size? But one thing's for sure, he's in real danger and needs to move fast. A head chef yells out his name and says he's up next for the hunt. But turns out that won't be necessary just yet, because the hunt is over. They actually managed to take down that giant pig. He thought those goblins were just attacking without thinking. The guy hands in the mission report and says there were 12 dead and a whole bunch injured just to bring down that giant pig. They lost a ton of stuff, but oh man, that chef couldn't care less about the losses. All he wants now is to hunt for the next target. But first, they're gonna take a quick break. Just a quick one, right? Looks like running away isn't an option anymore. She was so shocked when she found out this guy wants to hunt monsters. What other monsters? With those trash stats of his. Oh boy, his stats only go up when he levels up, which means he's gotta earn experience for that, right? She knows he's right, but how the heck is he gonna get experience in this situation? So his plan is basically this: land the final blow and snag all the monsters' experience for himself, all for him, no sharing. She knows he can actually get experience that way, but honestly, that's the laziest way to level up she's ever seen. He thanks her for answering his question and heads out, while she can't believe he's actually going to do this, but he knows he doesn't have many options. All he's gotta do is get stronger. He has 1 month, so he goes to the boss to see if he can get anything out of him, even if it means buttering him up a bit, but the boss thought Head already run away. But nope, that wasn't on his mind at all. Nope, not even a little. Sneaky guy. He was actually thinking about joining the next hunt as part of the demon army. The boss puts a serious face. Did he really just cross the line? For a second there, it looked like he did, but then the boss bursts out laughing. He says he actually likes this little piece of human meat. Oh, but this guy's only asking for this thanks to the amazing head chef, which means he's going to lead the next hunt, and for them, being the leader is the most honorable position there is. Normally, they'd never let a newbie even set foot anywhere near that position, but he's a special case. All he wanted was to join the hunt, not be the boss. But the final word's already been spoken. Done. And a goblin runs in yelling for the boss. Man, what on earth happened now? He comes sprinting in fast as lightning, shouting that there's a monster invasion. Oh boy, not again. A whole herd of Urim has shown up again. Everyone hears the screams. Has never actually seen these Urim creatures before, but one thing he knows, they're all in danger. And honestly, these Urim don't even have good meat. But the boss whips out a giant cleaver and yells for everyone to grab their weapons. Tonight's dinner is gonna be Urim stew. Oh, but our boy sees the perfect opportunity here to stick around and make sure he lands the finishing blow. I honestly thought that little rascal was useless, but she actually managed to boost his health and strength, even if just a little, and it lasts for 3 minutes. Heh, no need to thank me. Thanking her was not on his mind. All he does is give her knock on head, right smack in the middle. Why didn't she use that sooner, huh? So now, with this buff, he's fired up, ready to go all in for that finishing blow. Meanwhile, the fairy's head is throbbing like crazy while he's trying to hype himself up. All pops in his mind is daydreaming about that noble lady, the blonde he's gonna win over, and about finding some peace and quiet. Well, his motivation just shot through the roof. He leaps into the air, thinking about protection and aiming carefully at one of those Urim hounds and lands a blow, already picturing his retirement. That hit was fatal. The Urim dropped dead on the spot, and he leveled up 4 times, all at once, with just a single blow. This is everything he ever wanted. At this rate, he might hit level 20 before the day's even over. Seriously, he's about to get way, way stronger. So the battle rages on, with a bunch of Uruins biting the dust, and a bunch of goblins too. One of the goblins was about to land the final blow on the last Urim, but out of nowhere, he gets whacked by an elbow. Meanwhile, our hero just says his elbow just slipped. Hey. Sneaky guy trying to steal the last hit. He said that every last hit in this world belongs to him. And after the battle, all the goblins were busy gathering up, chopping, and piling up all the meat. It was over. Poor fairy. She used up way too much mana, giving him non-stop buffs. They took down many monsters, and it took ages for those goblins to chop up all that meat. The goblins are just chowing down on everything raw, not cooking it. The Morion, no salt, but instead of worrying about that, all they really want is just a bigger, juicier piece. Isn't he getting hungry too? A boss goblin comes over, grabs his shoulder and asks, "What are you staring at? Aren't you going to eat?" Eating raw meat is part of the chef's privilege, you know, and monster meat goes bad after a while. Few soldiers, normal. Seriously, fresh meat is a rare treat for most of them. And meat, that's the only reason he's alive and working as a head chef. Wow, what a privilege, huh? If there were any labor laws around here, everyone would be dead because of this. Oh, the boss hands him a chunk of meat and says he's got the right to eat raw meat too. Right, he's basically forced to eat that raw hunk of meat. Since I don't really have a choice, he grabs a piece of meat and starts eating, acting like it's super delicious. Actually, this meat isn't that bad, even though it's got a really strong smell. But honestly, all he tastes is something tough and flavorless. If this was sold back in his old world, he doubts it would last long on the shelves. These guys are fighting over this lousy chunk of meat, and he's thinking, what if he could make something way better than this? Now he's got an idea. Maybe he can win these goblins over through their stomachs. He's gonna become the god of cooking for sure then. He decides to open a shop. Every time this guy comes up with an idea, the fairy gets nervous because all of his ideas are just so weird. After buying that bone from the fool, he's still got about 70 points left. So he's gonna spend it all on that skill, and also on that item. He does. He blows all those points on that skill and that item. But the fairy has no idea what this guy just bought. Meanwhile, he's gonna show everyone all the demon sweat he's really made of. But everyone knows the one ingredient you just can't skip in any kitchen. Now has unlocked Frank cooking skill, which cost him 50 hero points. And the item, it was charged seasoning. He bought the salt for about 20 hero points. This is about to be the pinnacle of culinary greatness. This guy's got so many points left over. He's even splurging on salt. But hey, he tells her to chill out and just watch. Then he starts grilling that hunk of meat. Hez about to show these primitive creatures what a real meat combo looks like. Meat, fire, and salt. Just a little sprinkle of monosodium glutamate, and voila, that grilled steak is ready to go. A pinch of salt, so juicy. The aroma, the reaction is absolutely magnificent. He really is a god in this new world. And the first person to taste that grilled piece of meat is going to be the head chef. Unfortunately, he turned it down because he's totally stuffed. He says, hell, try it later. But our guy says he put his heart and soul into this, and after the chef eats it, he'll die with zero regrets. So he keeps insisting the chef give it a try. On the rise, he's about to take a bite. Finally, he's got nothing to lose. With the first bite, the chef tastes it, and all that comes to mind is when he was younger. His whole life flashes before his eyes, from when he was a baby all the way to adulthood. Man, when he eats that grilled piece of meat, he remembers his mom and even starts to cry. Oh boy, after eating that grilled piece of meat, he even gave him gifts. Well, the taste of that meat lasts about 2 days, and when it's gone, you'd better go find him because he's got more. Oh yeah. All right, off we go to Bobo's house. Hey Bobo, Daddy brought you a present. But just as he was saying, I'm here, Bobo was starving and jumped up to chomp him. Luckily, he had a piece of meat in his hand and he shoved it right into the dog's mouth. Just like that, the crazy dog turned super sweet right on the spot. Bobo, you can eat as much as you want. Basically, this guy became the dog whisperer. Oh, he brought a mountain of meat for that dog. No need to worry for a long time now. His bond with Bobo shot up like crazy. The affinity got so high that he even met the requirement for the Hero Quest mission accomplished. He managed to score 200 points. Finally, everything went just as planned. He finally managed to complete his mission, and now he's feeling a bit more confident. He's got about 200 hero points and also around 22 points of furnaces. The fairy says that stuff boosts his stats. Why hasn't he used it yet? Well, the guy just didn't use it because he had no clue what to do. And apparently that's because some dummy skipped the tutorial and didn't teach him anything. So here we go. So she decides to do the tutorial now. So he can use bonus points on the 4 basic attributes. Strength, stamina. Human agility, points in strength, boost power. Stamina increases his endurance and toughness. Agility makes his reactions and speed better. And mana is, well, magic, clearly. Tutorial over, but this guy still has a question. So what exactly is charisma? And she says charisma is nothing more than a secret attribute, and you can't boost it with bonus points, only through training. That's right. So basically all he has to do is just spread the points out evenly. But of course he wanted to dump everything into strength, right? Maybe that would be good at the start, but in the end, mana more important, and obviously a body with more mana is way stronger than a body that's just all muscle. So all right then, he decides to put 9 points into strength, 5 into agility, and 3 into stamina. And now all this guy has to do is buy the basics of mana control. Basically that lets him control mana. Shoot cost around 100 hero points. He decides to look for the basics of mana. He finds nothing. She's shocked because that should be a super common item in that shop. Wow, a sneaky useless shop. But she swore she put it there. So 3 weeks go by, and finally he managed to hit level 100. Man, oh man, it took him way longer than it should have. And Bobo got really big. Plus, the experience cap kept going up as he gained more levels. Now he's rocking 54 strength, 51 agility, 53 stamina, 50 mana, 26 charisma, and he even picked up a stone throwing skill. And get this, she still has 200 hero points left. But all he really wanted to know was if there were actually any heroes working as hard as he was. But she told him he's already a legit hero. He stands up and accidentally squishes her. After all, she has no idea how many times she almost died. And she starts yelling, her voice all squished, saying it usually takes half a year to reach level 100. Poor thing. She just wanted to be his friend. But hey, she brought this on herself. Turns out she forgot to add a bunch of stuff to his shop. Suddenly, a guy rushes over to Bobo's house, and it's a goblin named Shui. Looks like that commander finally wants to see him. So in Ima's office, she notices he's improved way more than before. And get this, he's gotten even stronger. Even his mana has doubled. He salutes and says he's been working super hard, giving it his absolute all to deliver the best quality meat to Bobo every single day. But she thinks this guy is getting way too strong, way too fast. Could it be because of the hero leveling system? He can't believe this demon lady knows he's a hero. Since when? How long has she known? She stares straight into his eyes and tells him not to freak out. She knew from the moment he walked through that door, for the very first time, she knows someone who's a total hero fan. But right now, all he can think about is why she called him over here. Maybe it's for Bobo's training, or maybe just to show him a few moves. Even though he's trying to run away, he knows it's because of the fight. And he also remembers their promise. Of course he remembers. She starts to unleash her overwhelming pressure and grins, revealing her true form while asking why he's acting like that. So scared. She knew he was a hero from the very beginning, and she also knew about his leveling system. If he doesn't work hard, he's going to die. But the only thing she cares about is having fun. She asks him, when does he think the crowd will get the most hyped? Maybe if he makes a grand entrance, or maybe with a crushing victory. Or what if he pulls off a comeback win? Well, after being scared out of his mind in that room, together with the commander, he realizes that monster really thought of everything. Even that wretch simply picked an opponent he could never beat, and she also made sure the odds were stacked completely against him. And after all that, she still warned him. Yeah, he doesn't stand a chance against this guy. While he's deep in thought, the fairy asks what they're going to do. Are they really going to die like a washed-up pro fighter? All he needs to do now is learn more about his opponent before the day of the battle. He's got to find out about every single skill that guy has, but unfortunately, they only know his name. How's he supposed to study someone he's never even met? He rummages through his shop trying to find an item, and this item is called the combat meter. Whoa, I didn't expect this story to have the same gadget that Vegeta used in Dragon Ball. And this thing is the weak combat meter. It measures the target's strength, stamina, agility, and mana, but it can only give you an approximate power level. And he spent 50 hero points to buy this thing, so now he's going to use this power meter to train against a boss with similar strength. Oh boy, she's still disappointed. This guy only gets clever when it comes to stuff like this. Meanwhile, he thinks it's better than being totally useless. Always, but who is more useless? Oh, I know who's the most useless here. So he decides to check her combat power, and it's around 375. She decides to measure his too while trying to get a good look. Hez, losing it, knows his power level and keeps asking what it is, but she doesn't say a word. Maybe she can't see anything? She pulls off the goggles, totally freaked out, and thinks this thing must be broken. Explanation, she still can't believe that this guy could actually be stronger than she is. His strength hits 1,560. Poor thing, this fairy used to have a strength of about 10,000 about a month ago. He puts on his glasses and realizes they're working perfectly. Bobo's strength is around 47,422. What a powerful dog. The two of them together don't even come close if that dog decides to attack. So just how strong is that red boss then? Since he's got those glasses, he's gonna check out everyone's strength there. But in that world, are there any creatures weaker than goblins? He starts to notice that most of the warriors have pretty much the same strength as him, ranging from 960 to 1,620, but then someone walked past him who only had a strength of 430. That guy was Captain Bookman. He realized the monsters with strength over 10,000 are all at the commander level. The fairy had told him that his opponent was a squad leader, and his name was Kirkin, an orc who's insanely strong, but not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. He knows that a squad leader has a strength of near 3,000, so maybe he's got a shot at leveling up. So he decides to check out that guy's strength, and when he gets there, he notices that that guy actually has a strength of 6,670 own. And his jaw just drops when he sees how strong that orc is. Well, that demon commander is basically telling him to go die in battle. His chances of beating that pig are basically zero. However, if he manages to boost his combat strength to 3,000 within a week, he'll score about 300 hero points. Wow, what a perfect time for this quest to show up. Hez got no choice. If he doesn't go through, he's going to die anyway. Remus, just wait, please. After I level up a bit, I'm coming for you. Our protagonist is dead set on surviving, no matter what it takes. So the next morning, in the kitchen, he comes running in, and the chef notices he's wearing a pretty unusual fashion accessory. Something really different. Ah, whatever. Kids these days wear some wild stuff. But everyone knows he walked in with those glasses, just to check out how strong the chef really is. And his strength is around 35,230. Honestly, crazy high strength isn't what you'd expect of a captain, but it's not him. Everyone there is super strong, which actually explains why they've been fighting against demonic beasts. Even the goblins have a strength of 1,969. There are others with 2,620. As for him, he's got 2,350. Basically, if he goes up against someone with strength similar to Kirkin's, he can get a sense of what level he's really at. So he asks Mr. Kirkin, the head chef, to let him spar with one of the other chefs. And the reason is obvious. He just wants to pick up another trick or two. He can be more helpful. The head chef thinks he's already strong enough, and there's really no need to rush things. He turns around and says that maybe today, he's just not in the mood to season the meat. When he hears the chef does a total 180 and asks who he wants to fight. So a little while later, everyone's gathered together, and it's almost time for the hunt. That absolutely disgusting human is about to fight Gobasin, While some are saying he's a goner today, others just want to get a taste of his meat themselves. Gobasin's got a power level of 2,620, and there are other goblins who want to taste the meat too. Gobasin's meat. The boss yells for everyone to shut up. He tells Gobasin not to kill that human no matter what happens. All he has to do is the bare minimum, but judging by Gobasin's face, he doesn't get it at all. Hez just drooling while saying he understands, with a totally confused look on his face. All right then, let's get this fight started. He gives the order to begin, while Gobasin keeps repeating he's not going to kill, and Shoy, our hero, charges in at full speed, and Gobasin throws a right hook, but Shoy dodges it beautifully and gets ready to land a kick, spinning his whole body in the air. That kick landed on his pale face, and he hit the ground instantly. Shoy managed to win this fight with just a single blow. Yep, Gobasin lost. Some people didn't see it, it was too fast. Even Shoy can't believe that guy got knocked down by just a single kick. All right then. A few moments later, they're already up north at the Black Fortress, in the Great Forest, ready to kick off the big hunt. But he keeps wondering, how did he manage to knock out an orc with twice his strength stat with just one kick? After thinking it over a lot, he figures that combat strength is just a number. If he gets just a little bit stronger, he'll totally crush the next fight. One of the goblins said that some Talas have shown up ahead. Well, looks like the boss wasn't thrilled at all to hear that lovely bit of news. Do those Talas taste bad or something? The boss said, nope, actually, their bone marrow is a super popular delicacy. But the big problem is that Talas always hang out in groups, and they've also got some seriously strong maternal instincts. And they're especially tough too. If you even just get close to their babies, you'll probably have a whole squad coming after you. Hearing that, our hero is ready to bolt out of there. But the boss says Tala meat is absolutely delicious. That settles it. Today they're going Tala hunting, and he grabs his giant cleaver and declares that today's snack is going to be Tala meat. The goblin warriors charge at the Talas, determined not to let a single one get away. But these Talas are pretty fascinating creatures. Their bodies are covered in bony granules, almost like they're wearing armor. And inside, they've got a spider-like body. What a wild animal. But of course, just as the goblin is about to land the final blow, guess who just slipped and gave him a shove? Our hero. Tala had no idea what happened. While he's pushing that goblin, all going through his mind is, every single finishing blow has to be his and his alone. A while later, there are already a bunch of Tala skulls scattered on the ground. And he keeps going, lightning fast, taking down the Talas, still rocking his brilliant strategy of always landing the final blow, and he actually managed to level up a few times. And this guy's getting insanely good at stealing, finishing hits, but while he's laughing, bragging about how much he loves to work, he suddenly feels this terrifying pressure, and the Queen of the Talas shows up. Now that no one saw coming. She appears thirsty for blood after seeing all her babies slaughtered. That scene is absolutely terrifying for her. She starts growling and letting her hatred bubble up for everyone there. Our protagonist has no idea why everyone is suddenly so scared, so he whips out his glasses to check just how strong this queen really is. While she roars and rises up from the skull, the glasses can't even measure the strength of that boss, which means her power is off the charts. And just to make things even better, they've just mercilessly massacred her precious little babies. He spins around quickly to ask the boss what they're gonna do now. But in a flash, he freaks out when he sees everyone is running away. Are they seriously going to leave him there all alone? He turns to look at the hunter goblins, and apparently, they're getting absolutely wrecked, and all they can do now is scatter. Some are dropping like flies, while others are screaming out, desperately looking for the boss. The queen is still absolutely furious, and all she wants right now is to destroy whoever killed her babies. She keeps making these weird, super loud noises, deafening. He covers his ears, trying to block out that deafening racket. The fairy tells him to watch out, because there's a whole legion of Talas coming up behind him, totally bloodthirsty, and the queen's leading the charge. Well, if he doesn't move fast, things are gonna go south real quick. Hell end up lunch. He runs for his life. A bunch of goblins are getting turned into goblin paste and getting totally sliced and diced back there. Oh man, if he stops running for even a second, he's toast. So he's gotta get out of there right now. That's all that's running through his head as he sprints. A few minutes later, after all that wild running, he comes face to face with the entrance to a cave. But hey, would a cave really be a safe spot in a place like this? Looks like it's totally empty. A while back, the fairy had checked out this cave and it was completely empty. Well, judging by this fairy's track record, he doesn't trust her one bit. At the least, this spot's gotta be safer than the forest. So that's what he does. Decides to head into that cave. From the looks of it, it seems to be naturally formed, and it's super tall and deep too. And oh, what a treat. This cave is actually big enough for Queen Talas to fit inside. But come on, we all know that's not gonna happen. So he starts noticing all these weird mosses, growing walls, and he touches them with his hand to see what they are, remembering that the boss said there wasn't a Talas group around here. But those mosses are actually a kind of spider web. But what a treat. While he was running away, he accidentally stumbled upon the Talas nest with a bunch of hidden eggs. Nice! You really are a hero! While he's running away, he finds their nest. Now there's no way to avoid a showdown, but he knows this isn't going to end well either. As he looks up, all he can see are some glowing green eyes and then a giant claw. Looks like it's time to get out of there. The fairy says there's a giant Tala right there. If she hadn't said anything, he wouldn't have noticed. As he's running, the fairy asks if this is really the right way. He has no idea. All he knows is that he's got to keep running. While sprinting, he steps on the moss covering the eggs. Unfortunately, he falls right next to a bunch of eggs. And also, right next to the giant Tala that was there, he grabs one of the eggs and throws it at the Tala, just to buy himself some time to get back up. She catches the egg with open arms and stops attacking, and her growling gets super quiet. While she's hugging the egg, he stands shocked. Why did this Tala suddenly stop attacking? Maybe it's because she got distracted trying to grab it, which means she must really like that thing he tossed to her. Oh, so that means those aren't just rocks. They're actually Tala eggs. But now he's finally figured it all out. So he decides to grab a bunch of eggs and starts threatening that Tala. And, well, the threats are working because she's shaking. And here comes his next throws. He shouts for her to catch it if she can. But she's super quick at snatching that egg. The fairy knows he can't keep tossing these eggs around forever. While he's deciding which egg to pick next, because in that damp cave, there are over 100 to choose from. So after a while, the eggs start to crack, and some even break open. And the queen is not happy about what just happened. He asks the fairy for the next egg, but she says that was the last one, which means the games are over. Well, the queen is absolutely furious. While that Tala, enraged, charges at the hero, he begs her to quickly cast a buff on him. Whoa, and that Tala is set on turning this hero into mincemeat, while he thinks she must be out of energy after grabbing all those eggs, and maybe he can win. As she lunges forward to stab him, all he can think is that he needs a finishing blow. So he uses the skill, Heavenly Reincarnation Shot, and lands a perfect hit right on Tala's skull armor. The impact of the blow was massive, but as Tala, the skull shatters into pieces completely. The system even pops up notifications saying he leveled up a few times. Yep, he actually managed to win with just one attack. Even Hez in disbelief. And the fairy can't believe he actually pulled off the win either. After using that attack for the first time, all his body wants is his lovely rock-hard bed. After he put a few points into mana, he's able to use healing magic, but his power can only stop the bleeding for now. And he's got to be super careful when using it too. He decides to use his points to boost his stats a little more, Hes at level 108. So he puts 2 more points into strength, 2 into agility, and 2 into endurance. And also 2 into mana. For charisma, he's got 27. Finally, he balanced out mana and his other stats. Now everything's nice and balanced. But then he hears someone calling out and asking if it's him, Shoy. Well, looks like someone's looking for him. Oh, he's super happy that he made it out alive. After all, someone's got to season the meat for him. He only got in there after running like crazy and, by pure luck, finding the entrance to that cave. But Shoy said that this place is actually a talus nest. Well, the boss stopped laughing real quick. Don't tell me those things. Are talus eggs? They better get out of there. Fast! Whoa, this food is delicious! And only high-ranking officers can even dream of having it. Oh, he's not gonna say no. I'd never just leave a fancy treat like that lying on the ground. Our hero starts yelling at the boss that they need to get out of there fast before the rest of the talus come back. The boss starts sniffing the egg and says there were a lot of people after him, and he bets they're all already inside the cave, which means that this is going to be their last meal. After all, they don't stand a chance because you've got to be at least division commander level or higher to even think about catching the Queen Tala. While our protagonist is desperately searching for a way out, someone gets close to them, and it's the little goblin warriors. The boss says they're lucky to have made it this far because before they die, they'll get to taste this fancy delicacy, gourmet. But our hero just can't believe that this grotesque thing is really supposed to be his last meal before dying. This guy is not about to die here, and he's definitely not about to taste that kind of food. He's not going to die before he gets to try the next meal cooked by his future wife with at least 5 side dishes, minimum. There's no way he's just going to die in a dump like this. Clenching his fists, he's dead set on making it out of this cave alive. Well then, not too far from there, over in Rima's office, she's welcoming the commander, complaining that he's always so formal and uptight. And wow, he wrapped up his mission super fast. He even managed to capture the saint from the Holy Empire, just like she asked. And now look at her, she is totally buttering him up. He wiped out that crazy cult in just 3 weeks. While she's stroking his ego, he thanks her. Then she pulls him a little closer, but then someone interrupts that glorious moment. Turns out it's just a goblin with an urgent report. Unfortunately, the cooks went out to gather ingredients and disaster struck. Every single time those guys go out to get more food, this kind of thing happens. But why this time is he the one reporting this? Well, naturally, this time it happened on a whole different level. While they were out gathering food, Queen Talus showed up, and now most of the cooks, including the head chef Kirkin, are either dead or missing. Oh boy, what a lovely mess. But all our red commander wants to know is, what about Shoy? Well, apparently he's missing too. I still don't get why this boss is so hung up on that human Shoy. Meanwhile, inside the cave, everyone's throwing a feast with those eggs, and they're even toasting to their own doom. While the head chef was wrapping up his speech about how they'd soon see each other in Valhalla, he gets smacked right in the head with a book. Out of nowhere, he snapped back. Apparently, that boss was under some kind of evil spell. So he woke him up with the secret weapon, the new item. Well, that item is the Beast Encyclopedia, you know? It's packed with handy info about demonic beasts, and it even has a skill to store pretty much all the information about any demonic beast. He dropped about 50 points to snag this item. So he quickly flips through to the page about the Talus, a spider-type demonic beast that lives in groups with especially tough legs. All he wants to know is how to beat the Talus. And the book says he's got to focus on their weakest spots, especially the torso and the head. The body fluids that come out of them are super flammable, and the eggs are basically a bomb. Those smaller skulls, made with Talus saliva, are weak against fire. And after reading all that info, he asks Chief Kirkin if he can use fire magic. Oh, he totally can. But his magic is pretty weak and basic, and he's already given up on life and tells Shoy to do the same. After all, the Talus shell is something his magic can't just burn through easily. While the goblins are basically throwing a party for their own doom, he says he's not planning to burn the Talus. So he grabs everyone's attention and announces he's got an escape plan, but he knows nobody there is feeling pumped for a run for it. So he grabs an egg and says everyone needs to survive so they can keep eating cool stuff. And once they make it out alive, he himself, Shoy, is gonna whip up a bunch of meat dishes, super well seasoned with salt and grilled to perfection. It's gonna be an epic buffet of gourmet beast meat, demon realm. But check this out, the one who really got fired up was the boss, and looking at his face, you can tell that all he wants to know is what's the plan, because that guy is literally drooling, totally craving some meat. A few moments after he's already laid out the plan for everyone, and he keeps reminding them that nobody should stop. They're gonna keep running, no breaks, until they make it all the way outside. Got it? Since everyone's all set, they kick off their escape at full speed, everyone clutching Talus eggs. And right in front of them, there's a swarm of Talas. Fight seems totally unavoidable. While he tells the boss to get ready, he starts chucking eggs. The boss magic mixed with those Talas eggs, which are insanely explosive, works like a bomb and torches a bunch of Talus. That fire draws the rest of the Talus right in. Look at that, awesome. The whole swarm of Talus is heading straight for the fire he made trying to put it out. And he bolts, thinking that if the fire spreads through the cave, everything collapses. That's why he made sure to leave a few eggs in there on purpose. His plan is basically to make a run for it. While the Talus are all distracted, all they have to do is keep running. But sadly, casualties are just unavoidable. As they're running, some goblins get left behind. They get gobbled up by the Talus, but he knows all he has to do is toss out more eggs to keep them distracted. Hez clutching the last egg in his hand as he runs. The fairy shouts that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. He yells for all to hear that he's found the exit. The Talus's claws, razor sharp as ever, almost pierce his back. That's how close they are. And he's a little bit away from making it. As he's running, maybe it's time to use that last egg. And then he spots the light and looks up, shouting that they're really safe now. But safe doesn't come out. And he freaks out when he realizes that the huge, blinding light shining at the end of the tunnel was actually the giant Talus Queen. So now what, hero? What are you gonna do now? The head chef said that's the Talus Queen right there. Yeah, and he definitely noticed that too. Unfortunately, inside that pitch black cave, there are no more options left. All he's got in his hand to try and escape is just the egg. And right in front of him is that Talus Queen with bloodlust and revenge blazing in her eyes. The head chef tries to cheer him up, saying that the Talus Queen really is back. This is truly gonna be the end for them. But this guy still hasn't given up. The Talus Queen isn't attacking them, even after spotting them. Is there some reason for that? He grabs the last egg, shows it to the Talus Queen, and rips off a piece of his own clothing. He asks Chef Kirkin to light that piece of cloth for him, and he keeps calling out to the queen, asking if she's seeing this. This really is the last of her eggs, and if he blows it up, everyone will die. And if the cave collapses, all her offspring will be wiped out too. Now, in his right hand, he's got an egg, and in his left cloth, while he says that if she doesn't get out of the way, he's gonna blow everything up. The queen starts growling and doesn't have many options. Meanwhile, he keeps yelling at her to move aside. But instead of moving aside, that queen starts walking right toward him, stomping her feet on the ground with insane force. Everyone's frozen in place. She starts to roar, and judging by how things are going, she's not letting anyone leave that cave. So the only thing left to do is set the egg on fire. He has no idea how he's getting out of there, but all he's gotta do is toss a bomb inside that cave. He throws that bomb made from a Talus egg right into the middle of a stone pillar holding up part of the cave. The egg explodes with a ridiculous amount of force, and that rock pillar starts to crack and snap, and everyone starts to feel the ground shaking inside the cave. Don't tell me the whole thing's about to collapse. Well, and when he looks up, he notices that there are a bunch of rocks falling, and some of them are massive. That cave is coming down. That fight turns into total chaos. While everyone's scrambling to get out, one of those giant rocks comes crashing down on Queen Talus. And hey, what a coincidence. He managed to level up while he's looking at Queen Talus to see if she's actually dead, because he can't pass up the chance for the final blow. The fairy tells him to get out now, before the cave collapses. And Queen Talus is screaming from under that boulder, and even more giant rocks keep falling right on top of her. And he just keeps leveling up. And now, that cave that was collapsing starts to explode, with a bunch of explosions going off one after another, followed by a flood of notifications from the system saying he just leveled up again. Seriously, the notifications are popping up so fast, you can't even keep count. This is tasty. What an awesome story. This guy is seriously lucky. Our hero was totally confused about why all the talus turned into experience points. Oh, it must be because he's the one who made the cave collapse. Anyway, they're gonna make it out of there. Once Rachel gives him those buffs... Alright, thank goodness he managed to get out of that mess. But it's still gonna be super tricky to get out of there with the queen blocking the way. Because she's still alive, all he's gotta do is distract her so he can buy a little more time. Head's all out of eggs, but the boss still had one left. Feeling guilty and in tears, he says he'll offer up this egg in exchange for a way out. While the queen keeps chasing after him. Well, what about blood splattering everywhere? That's probably coming from the head chef. The queen keeps chasing after him, thirsty for blood, while all he can think about is that he needs to survive no matter what. As he leaps out of the cave, the queen activates her web-slinging ability and manages to grab him by the arm. Yeah, he was gonna get out, unscathed, but this is where it ends for him. Then, just as the queen was about to stab him with her razor-sharp legs, he saw some red hands. A red demon chef showed up just in time to save him. That was a close one, but he can't believe Heindram is actually there. Meanwhile, he says he knew Head'd still be alive. From here on out, his taking over. Everybody knows Heindram is super strong, and he grabs Queen Leg and slams her down to the ground with a ton of force, and she starts breaking apart, screaming in pain. Heindram completely shatters the queen's body, using just his fingers without using any kind of weapon. Our boy was blown away, maybe by just how strong Heindram really is. This guy is a beast, and honestly, this would be the perfect time to whip out those glasses and check just how many strength points he's packing. Sadly, during that incident of 105 people, only 6 made it out, and the other 99 are either dead or missing, including the big boss himself, Kirkin. A little farther away in the Black Castle, inside Boboss' room, that dog is already as big as he is and greets him with a ton of excitement, whimpering joy. And honestly, they were super lucky to make it back, all thanks to that red cow head. They've got to make the most of their free time because death is still lurking around him, but he managed to level up a ton and gain a bunch of levels thanks to that Cavine. He scored 75 levels all at once, past at level 200 with 80 strength, 77 agility, 80 stamina, 78 mana, and his pickaxe skill leveled up to rank C. Leadership is at E and cooking at F. And he's also got 200 hero points, but my fairy still thinks he's way too weak. Could it really be that his opponent has around 6,000 power points? Because he's already hit 3,500. Suddenly, he thinks maybe if he can get his strength up past 6,000, maybe he'll be as strong as an orc, which means it's not just about raw battle power. That kind of power isn't just about strength, but also magic. And if he wants to take on an opponent way stronger than him, he's gonna have to use magic. He actually managed to use magic when he punched that Tala back in their cave. Yeah, it was super weak, but hey, that was magic. Now he remembers that sudden power he felt in his fist was magic. Here we go again. The scene repeats itself. Boboss' bedroom door swings open, but this time it's not a goblin. It's Heindram. He gets freaked out. What on earth would bring a commander to a humble place like this? But the red demon is just there to take him to Commander Remus immediately. All right, so back in Remus' office, she's super curious about what reason Heindram is doing there. After all, the reason for the meeting is listed as personal. This guy is only there to talk to the commander who wants to teach Shoy the art of battle in person. But hey, does he have some special reason? Turns out he actually does. See, the orc Kirkin is a squad leader, but lately he's been acting really strange. He thinks that guy would be perfect for the role of battalion vice commander. And if things keep going this way, his protege, Shoy, is going to lose, and he truly believes in his boy's potential. All he wants is to check out in person what the future holds for Shoy as a commander. Whoa, even Shoy was stunned. There's no way the commander's gonna go along with something like that because she knows he's a hero. But against all our expectations, she agrees too. Well, looks like she's curious as well. Yeah, since they're done talking, she's got work to do. So everyone better get out of her office right now. He leaves, thanking the commander for her generosity. But I know she's just gonna take a nap. While they were talking, she was analyzing Shoy's abilities, and she realized he's gotten twice as strong since the last time they met. Oh man, it's much fun to meet a being who grows this fast. And maybe she even feels a little bit jealous, watching this little human level up at lightning speed. She gets up, knowing that Kirkin could actually lose if Heindram helps Shoy. For that reason, she's going to personally even the odds. And with every transformation this woman pulls off, she just gets more and more terrifying. Sometime later, they arrive at the personal training field of the Red Demon. Our protagonist can't believe that this guy gets to use a place this big all by himself. Commander Remus definitely really loves this guy. The Red Commander looks deep in thought. He's been watching Shoy for quite some time now. His body already contains a lot of mana, but unfortunately, he still can't use it. He's gotten stronger and much faster. It must have been because of the fight against those monsters. But he's still a complete klutz. So all he has to do is just teach him the basics, because that battle's gonna happen in 4 days. And he doesn't have enough time to waste. And the only way people learn quickly is through pain. While thinking this, he says that pain is part of growth, and he winds up a right hook straight to Shoi's face, while Shoi, for his part, wasn't expecting that at all. But all this commander wants is for Shoi to keep his focus. Damn it! Is this commander crazy? Why is he hitting him? After saying he was going to train him, the commander keeps landing several blows, while saying that if he doesn't block using mana, he'll die. But he keeps blocking the attacks. But if this keeps up, his body won't be able to take it. And that last blow he blocked was so strong that he was sent flying, dragged far away by the force of the impact. And now the commander realizes that there's something very strange going on here. Shoi's physical strength is nothing special, but his reaction time and vision are on a whole different level. And perhaps at the level of a knight. What does fighting spirit mean? His is exceptional, but we know that all of this is because he was a champion fighter in his previous life. He remembers that it was no mere coincidence that he wasn't able to block his kick earlier. It's because his combat sense is incredibly well trained. Upon noticing this, he decides to change his strategy. He gathers momentum and gets ready to go all out. After all, he has to trust his instincts as he charges at Shoi. He shouts that he'll never be able to defeat Kirkin without using mana, and the commander is going to win. And he's going to die there, so it's better to die here, by his hands. As he says this, he headbutts Shoi right in the middle of the chest. The force of the impact was so great that Shoi was thrown several meters away, while the commander said that it's better to lose to him than to lose in front of everyone. As Shoi falls, he realizes that the commander isn't joking. If he takes another hit like that, he won't be able to get married or have a beautiful child with a gorgeous blonde wife. The commander jumps to grab him in midair while shouting Shoi's name, and he says, do or die, block it or die. All right then, Shoi decides to play along and gets ready to block the attack using mana, and the mana starts to fill his entire fist, and he prays for this power to work. The force of their clash is so great that it destroys the entire training area, and Shoi's clothes are completely torn apart. The fairy comes closer, asking if he's all right, but the red demon also wants to know, can he control his mana? Yes or no? Poor Shoi, he can't say a single word, but he extends his hand, still trembling. He gives a thumbs up, confirming that it worked. He answered his prayer, but the red demon is confident. If he keeps his focus, maybe he can win. Then the red demon starts to heal him. But the healing technique of this red demon is a bit peculiar and maybe very painful. And instead of healing, he started killing the poor guy. Damn! He forgot that dark mana black is like a poison for humans. And Shoi is a human. The red demon quickly grabs Shoi in his arms while apologizing. He prays that he stays alive for just one more second. There are some powers that oppose each other and form this world, and some mystical forms that count as human, and mana contains part of the divine power. And divine power is the opposite of the dark power of mana, after all. Mana belongs to humans, and dark mana belongs to demons. And those who truly worship God possess divine power. And in that world, there is the Theosis Church, the largest congregation. These are the ones who cause many religious wars, and also carry on their backs all the religion under their control. And after some time under their reign, they became the Divine Empire, also known as Gaten. But Gaten did not allow just anyone to hear the voice of God. Only their chosen ones could. And among them, they chose only one to be the saint. And that saint is being held prisoner in that room. She is the next saint of the Divine Empire, captured by the demon army. Belson Mariotes, the goblins who are watching over the saint, say that she hasn't prayed for days. So is she really a saint after all? But everyone knows that the red demon never makes mistakes. Meanwhile, she keeps praying, extremely quietly, as if she were murmuring. Though she was trapped in that place, she wasn't all that unhappy. After all, it was better than staying in that church. And suddenly, the red demon bursts into the saint's room, demanding to be healed immediately. But how dare this guy enter a girl's room without knocking first? So rude. But Heindram isn't too concerned with everyday manners. All he wants is to heal this young human. Well, and inside his head, he's feeling a terrible headache while wondering what happened. Could it be that in the end, the last hand this guy will ever hold will be a man's hand? Holding that fairy's hand would be more useful? Then he starts to open his eyes and sees a beautiful girl with silver hair, which means he died and woke up somewhere random, but this time he's gonna do everything right. He turns around saying he'll never forgive that angel, and he'd rather become an archmage at 30, and that's not right. And he starts praying for God to send Rachel to eternal hell. That girl could never be an angel. She's a demon. That's what she is. But the saint doesn't understand nothing what this guy is saying, and he keeps saying that he has one more wish before reincarnating. If she's planning to make him a hero again, before that, he asks her to marry him. The first impression that Saint got was that he was nothing but a pathetic being. The red demon was also there, listening to everything, and got really excited that he was already awake, and gave him a big tight hug. And if it kept going like that, he was going to die again. But as he's being crushed, he wonders why he's not dead. And realizing that this is a real person, he feels deeply embarrassed for saying those things in front of her. The red demon asks if he's really completely healed, and she says yes. The dark mana isn't coming out of his body anymore, and no one knows what will happen to him. But unfortunately, that saint can't erase the dark mana that's in his body with her divine power. And also, she doesn't know what might happen. Maybe he'll just die over time. Or maybe that dark mana could disappear as well. All they can do is just wait. The red demon is extremely regretful and will reward him with training and a lot of growth. While he's being crushed again, he says he doesn't need this kind of treatment because he's an inferior being. But the red demon is excited, and they're gonna get right back to training. The saint can't believe what she's seeing. A demon training a human. But who is this human? Well, sometime later, he's already at Bobo's house, almost passed out. But that extremely difficult training is going to bear some fruit. While he was away, Bobo destroyed the house and ate a soldier who came there to feed him. Well, while Bobo was licking him, repeatedly, he felt as if Bobo was about to rip his head off. But all he can think about is that he still has dark mana inside his body. He asked the fairy if he's going to die, but Rachel is far away, crying. Her plans have been completely ruined. A hero is corrupted and will never be the same again. He's the one who should be crying there. But she keeps thinking it's all her fault. All because she's nothing more than a demon wearing an angel's clothes and a crazy lunatic who deserves to suffer in the fires of hell. He goes up to her and tells her to relax, that he was just joking. And there's no buff item better than her. She tells him to shut up and knows he doesn't really mean it. Poor thing, she heard everything. How is this guy going to calm this fairy now? All he has to do is let time pass. So, 3 days later, he's completely exhausted in a training field, and the saint says she'll only heal him if he keeps training. Unfortunately, that's all she can do for him. She begins the healing while he says he has a request to make before tomorrow's battle. This guy is so afraid of dying that he asks the saint to pray for him not to die tomorrow. And also, if it's not too much trouble, could she go watch the fight too? So the next day, on the battlefield, everyone greets the demons. The audience can't believe there's a human fighting for the position of commander. Idiot. Stupid. You're going to die in the arena. After all, a human is just a human. The commander asks the red demon who in fact is going to win. But the commander stands firm in his choice and knows that Shoi is talented and gave his best during training. Oh my, does he want to make a bet? If Shoi wins, the red demon can continue the training. But if he loses, he will have to kill him with his own hands. So is he ready to take on that responsibility? And so he does. Yeah, it had been a long time since there was such an unusual fight in that arena as this one. All Shoi can do is try to focus. And while the announcers introduce Shoi, a hero candidate, level 200. And he has 450 hero points. He also gained a new skill, Trace. In fact, our hero is much stronger than before. And he also possesses Heindram's ability, Your Style. That new skill, Heindram's combat style, is nothing more than the martial arts developed by Heindram based on the art of dueling. And this art is passed down through the Cauldron lineage and consists of 10 distinct forms. The level of proficiency he's in it is only 8%. He can trust a skill in which he has only 8% proficiency, but he knows he has to win this fight. After all, everyone is watching him, including that saint. And maybe, if he wins, he might even get a date with that silver-haired saint. Silver, every time this guy is in danger, he gets motivated by thinking about women. So now, it's time to introduce the one who will punish Shoi for his arrogance. This is the challenger, Kirkin. My brother, this guy is juiced up. They put steroids in his training because he's way stronger than before. Even our beloved red demon got extremely worried. That commander really cheated, but she just smiles, saying he doesn't need to worry. Now, Kirkin is on a whole nother level. Just his roar alone is enough to shake the entire arena with just one sound. And his combat level is about 10,573 points. Look at that, how wonderful. The protagonist also noticed that he's much stronger, almost twice as strong. Without a doubt, that commander did something to him, and he knows it too. But he's determined to win that fight easily, because if he does, he'll get his lovely date with the silver-haired saint, Silver. And so the battle begins. While that big, strong pig stands still, Shoi charges forward at full speed. And when Shoi is already within his reach, he readies his club with all the strength he has. And if even a single hit lands on him, he's done for. No doubt about it. But he knows that the bigger the opponent, the more predictable their movements are. And all he does is dodge. While dodging, he gets ready to land a right hook, a precise counterattack, right in the middle of that pig's face, dealing a critical hit. But that's not all. Right after, he tries to land another blow in succession, right in the pig's face. Yeah, in fact, those hits really hurt because there was even blood. But unlike what he thought, this big, strong pig didn't even flinch. Shoi realizes that things are about to get a bit more complicated. While the pig's club is coming at full speed, the attack was extremely fast and only just grazed his arm, and he managed to get out of the way. But unfortunately, his arm was broken with just a single graze from the club. While that monster is still completely unharmed, as Shoi tries to recover, the monster charges at him again. But Shoi knows that the monster's movements are still predictable, and he's fought things much worse than this before. Now he focuses to recall everything he's learned, and now he's going to combine martial arts, combat, along with mana. In other words, if he can pull this off, he could become so strong that his blows could crack the ground, or even completely shatter a stone. With just a single strike, as he tries to use that skill, he remembers Heindrum, saying that the art of combat isn't just about strength. That's the most important part. It's the combat technique used to kill your opponent in battle decisively. The most important part of that training was that the Red Demon said that if he goes in without the intent to kill, it won't do any good. In other words, his attacks must clearly convey the intent to kill, otherwise none of his strikes will make sense. But now he remembers the best part of the training. While the boar keeps coming, the most important part was to charge forward without fear, ready to absolutely kill anyone in his way. He lands a powerful direct hit on the monster's abdomen. The impact of the blow is so strong that it causes a blue explosion in the arena. No one was expecting that, but that technique was the first form of Heindrum's combat style. An instant obliteration. The entire stage was shattered and became completely filled with dust. Amidst that haze, the Saint tried to find out who actually won the fight. But all we can see now is that huge, strong boar with a hole right in the middle of its chest. And the winner of that arena is Shoei. The weak human that no one expected to win has won that battle. This is the first time he uses this ability, and his whole body trembled. If he uses it twice in a row, he will die. The fairy is in disbelief that that power went straight to the heart of that monster, and that's why he won. While he rests, Kirkin's body slowly starts to regenerate. How is that possible? This can only be a miracle. Or could it be a mirage? I'm sure this is nothing but a trick. No doubt about it. How can this guy still move with a hole right in the middle of his chest? This can only be the work of that commander. No doubt about it. But the Red Demon knows. She shared all of her incredibly powerful dark mana with Kirkin. That way, she cast an immortality curse on him. But even so, she sincerely hoped he could use the combat arts in such a short time. His talent is truly incredible. But she already expected that. That guy isn't alive. He's only moving because of the curse. This is going to be a battle against time, because the curse won't last very long. He charges towards Shoei at an incredible speed. Meanwhile, Shoei knows that this guy's going to use the same attack. Again, this is going to be tough, but he'll have to use the same technique. But his feet won't be able to take it. The monster grabs him by the neck, throws him to the ground, and lands several blows right to Shoei's face. Between some of those hits, Shoei manages to grab the guy's arm while saying that he'll hold on until this monster dies. And he starts squeezing with all his strength. But someone should tell this guy that the dead don't feel pain. Well, I think he realized that too. The monster swings his arm and throws Shoei into the air, and he flies far and slams his back against the wall. And he feels like he's experiencing a near-death near-death veil. And the feeling is as if the bones in his body are being completely crushed. But all this guy needs to do is stand up. After all, the dead don't get married, and he still wants to go on a date with that saint. And things are a bit complicated for him right now, but thanks to fate, the place where he landed was very close to where she was. And she whispers that he can win, and he manages to hear her using his lip-reading skill. That, in fact, was the kickstart he needed to feel even more motivated. He can't lose a fight in front of the girl. He just asked out. Mana fills his entire body, starts to overflow, and if all his bones are broken, he's gonna fix them all with mana and reinforce them with a mana armor. Oh my, with much determination. The system even notified that his mana control, which was F, has advanced to E, and after E, it advanced to D. As he gathers power in his hand, he shouts, asking the saint to go out with him. He strikes the monster's head with all his might. The impact is so great that the monster's head is completely driven into the ground. But this monster, even after taking such a powerful blow, he has not been defeated yet, and it starts to get up. And now it activates its demonic aura. He used the skill Instant Obliteration. This skill causes the pressure to shake even the ground, and he focused all that pressure on the monster's head. So all he has to do is keep attacking as he keeps hitting the monster's head, so it can't get up. He makes a psychopathic face as if he's enjoying beating up that monster. Everyone knows that the whole audience was rooting for Kirkin, and seeing Kirkin getting beaten, everyone goes silent. But the commander asks, and was it the Red Demon who taught him that too? But the Red Demon has never seen that sequence of attacks before. After he finishes his sequence of attacks, all he can think about is 1 night, 2 days, a dinner, and a hotel. That, in fact, is all he needs. After this fight, Commander Remus is starting to think that the Red Demon is creating a monster. So she smiles, thinking that there's actually a hero in the demon army, and his face perfectly resembles the face she hates the most. Things are about to get a little more interesting around there. Sometime later, he wakes up at Bobo's house, and he wonders what happened with the fight. Where's the experience he earned? The fairy says that he won, and then the saint healed him and left. So he opens the system panel to check his stats. Well, now he's at level 202. With that fight, he raised his resistance quite a bit, reaching 82. Mana went up to 81. Charisma, 30. And mana control, D. The fairy just says that she could have taken care of his body too. Meanwhile, he says that his level increased by about 12 points, and his stats went up as well. But when he says that his mana control increased, the fairy is confused because she had never seen that happen before. After all, mana control doesn't improve that easily, like other skills. But look, someone left him a note. Time later, in the prison, Belson, the saint is still locked up. Sigh. She finds this unnecessary work so boring, and that boy was very strange. He actually figured out how to use mana in just 3 days, and he even learned the art of combat. She knows that a knight would take at least a month to achieve all that. If this guy were a normal human, he could never dream of reaching this unknown potential. But even though he accomplished great feats, his personality, let's just say, is a bit questionable. As she puts on her cloak, she thinks that maybe God has answered her prayers, or maybe it was just his own talent. That guy, in fact, changed her fate by winning that battle, which means that this human might be the hope she's been searching for. Sometime later, she knocks on the door and the guard behind asks what she wants, but she just asks the guard to let her take a walk. On the other side, our boy was reading that note telling him to go to the courtyard after sunset. Our boy is going to have his first date. Do you know why this girl wants to have a date with this guy? The only reason was to see if he'd become a variable that would actually change the world, or if he's just an idiot. Well, out in the courtyard, he's shaking all over. This is the first time he's going to have a real date. Should he ask for her number? But in that world, there are no cell phones. The fairy tries to help him and tells him to forget about those notes he made in his room. He tries to hide that fairy while completely ignoring her words. And Miss Belson is already there, accompanied by 2 strong security guards. Well, he thought it was going to be a date just for the 2 of them. Unfortunately, that girl is still a prisoner, so she can't go out alone. What was this guy thinking? He knew she was a prisoner. Yeah, he was already so nervous, and with those guys there, he got even more terrified. She asks if he is, in fact, a hero. Yeah, it seems like everyone knows he's a hero. But why is that? The saint says that only heroes or demons have black hair, and they grow as well. And if he has any questions about that saint, this time to ask, he completely changes his expression and says that a man like him is a bit shy, and they could take it slow. But the girl asks if he's okay. Is he really thinking that this is a date? Unfortunately, the red demon comes running in. And man, Mr. Heindrum completely ruined his date. That woman commander wants to see him immediately, right in the middle of his date. Santa will have to wait a little longer before she can trust this guy. And already at Remus's office, she says she really enjoyed watching the duel between Shoy. She called him into that room just to remind him of the promise they made to each other. In exchange for fighting, she will protect him. That way, she will make him her newest executive and have him work under her orders. And to be more honest, she only mentioned making him an executive because she really thought he was going to die. But after seeing his skills, she changed her mind. The Red Demon said that Shoy was a talent who could become a commander in the Demon King's army. This time, instead of dueling, they can simply hand over such a talented person as just a mere platoon leader. As everyone already knows, the head chef died in that cave, and the monsters are running out of meat. And if this keeps up, they'll end up eating each other. And since there's an open spot, the Shoy will become the newest squad commander, and to be more precise, the commander of the cooking squad. And as a gift, he can choose any cook he wants. And man, unfortunately, Shoy can't refuse. All he can do is to say that you will do your best. The fairy starts laughing at him. Well, look what we have here. The commander of the Demon King squad. Ah, he looks so happy with this promotion. And he said he's so happy he could die. I'm sure that fairy is still holding a grudge against him. No doubt about it. Well, he puts his glasses back on. After all, the squad commander is about to get to work. And inside that room, he comes across Punk. I thought this goblin looked a lot like Smeagol from The Lord of the Rings. He just called the protagonist a barbecue slave. Finally, he arrived to cook for everyone. Slave? This guy has no idea what he's getting himself into. Our hero was absolutely furious at such insolence, and he lands a kick right in the middle of that goblin's chin. And from today on, his name is Mr. Commander. And now he orders everyone to gather in that room. Sometime later, he starts to assess the average power of the cooking squad, and he realizes it's around 2,000, with the strongest one at 3,500. But one thing caught his attention. Why are there so few people in that squad? There were supposed to be about 300 people or monsters, and now there are less than 20. Oh well, whatever. Sadly, he's going to have to make this squad work, otherwise he'll be killed by that commander. While he's dead inside, on the outside, he has to keep a firm posture. He asks all the goblins if they know who he is. Some even answer that he's Shoy, the machine of machine. Another goblin says that everyone is wrong. That guy is just a piece of human meat. Human meat. Ah, but he won't tolerate such insolence. And he kicks that goblin hard, right in the chest, sending him flying. And after that, he tells everyone that he is the new commander. And his first order as commander is for them to treat him as if he were a god. From now on, there should be a lot of people here. And anyone who knows why there are so few people here had better stand up and explain immediately. One of them says that the remaining goblins went out hunting without orders and were taken down by demonic beasts. Well, since they're all dead or missing, there's not much to be done. And the last question is, who is the best cook here? But everyone knows it's Gowron. All right then, this Gowron will be the vice commander. If anyone has any objections, you'd better speak up. Well, those goblins have already learned that objections are dealt with in a very violent way. Sometime later, he remains deep in thought because he knows that the number of people to make that kitchen work is, at the very least, 200, which means that maybe there's only one path left for him to take, right? The next day, he's going to use Bobo as part of his plan to be able to increase the productivity of the cooks and also to persuade those who don't want to work for him. He looks around, trying to find anyone who can be easily replaced. He's already found one, and he has a combat power of 1,930. And he comes in already smashing his face and shouting that he's going to become a head chef. But when that monster tries to talk back, saying that human has gone crazy, he lands another kick right in the middle of the monster's chin. He is, in fact, his first recruit. Does he really understand the weight of this choice? In other words, when it comes to a military environment, he'll be the oldest one, and there won't be many people above him. If he joins now, he could end up above a lot of people. All this guy has to do from now on is bring more soldiers to take the hits for him. But in exchange for that, he gets a great offer. If he manages to bring in 5, and each of them gets hit 5 times, as a reward, he'll only get hit once. That's a great plan. A pyramid plan. But what kind of recruiter offers getting beaten less instead of a salary? But anyway, it seems to be working.
A little farther away, someone is enjoying a delicious piece of raw beef, and this complete meal on their table is proof that peace has been established.
This is the commander of the Demon King's Army Corps from the 3rd Separate Battalion, Dorans.
While he was enjoying his peace and his steak, a goblin suddenly burst in, flinging the door open and shouting that they're in trouble.
Ah, how inelegant. What is it this time? The goblin goes on, saying that most of their battalion members have disappeared. It seems there's a cook recruiting everyone as kitchen staff for the army, and he grabs another steak while mentioning that the head cook is a human whom Commander Eames values. So he decides to resolve things peacefully and tells them to say that next time they should be more careful when recruiting people for the kitchen. The goblin keeps insisting, saying that the commander can't just ignore this matter so easily. After all, they recruited about 200 soldiers as cooks. Wow, they took all of that guy's troops. So now, over at the training field, all the goblins are gathered. Ah, how wonderful. There are already 200 people gathered.
That's just because he's a really smart guy, according to him, right?
But then, out of nowhere, he notices a very strong and big guy arriving. Just as he was saying that it's enough recruiting culinary soldiers, and now they should end the recruitment.
Some really big people showed up, and they are not at all happy with that recruitment.
And that's pretty bad. He puts on his glasses to check that guy's strength, and it's clear that he's furious. Those glasses, which measure combat power, can't measure anything above 50,000, which means that if the person he's assessing has a power level above 50,000, they won't work properly. The guy comes in shouting, asking where Choi is, that same human who takes care of Bobo.
While he tries to sneak away, Bobo gives him away by saying he's right there. Yeah, it looks like unfortunately he won't have any choice but to stay. But what could have brought Commander Dorans here?
He talks as if he's not doing anything. He knows very well why he's here. And the reason is obvious. Why did he simply withdraw 200 members from his battalion?
Now that he realized those guys brought all their friends from their own unit, which means everyone is from the same battalion,
the commander calls him into the office.
Yeah, things are about to get a bit more complicated for this hero. He explains everything to the commander, and the commander asks if he really didn't do it on purpose. He just chose the bravest soldiers. But unfortunately, it turned out they were all from the 3rd Battalion. While Dorans hates everything that's happening, he knows he can't lay a finger on this human.
So the most obvious choice is to just let everything slide peacefully.
So he starts sucking up to that human and says that everything is fine, then he can take the people and use them however he wants. After all, he's already selected them.
Well, what great news. He was thrilled to hear that. But this great news comes with a condition. While he's working on this, he should take a few more soldiers with him. Is he sending some kind of spy along with him? Or maybe some kind of loser soldier who's gonna ruin everything?
This smells like revenge to me.
Doram, seeing the look on our protagonist's face, thinks he's wondering whether he wants to or not. After taking almost all of his soldiers, is he still gonna think about whether he wants more? A hero steps forward confidently and says he's very happy. So it's settled. Now he's gonna introduce the newest soldier, the cook, and his beautiful name is Usaro. This guy is a hybrid. He was born from the union of an ogre and an orc. Look at the size of this monster! And his colossal power can't be measured.
Ah, he thought he was just gonna be another loser, but that guy is really strong, so it's better to make good use of him.
He tries to go through the door and bumps his head. Then, sometime later, it's time for the hunt. He introduces himself again to all the recruits and says that on this hunt, Bobo is coming along. But everything he's doing to keep that dog at peace is bribing him with bones. Since he has plenty of soldiers, all he needs to do is reorganize that unit. And now, he's going to present the ranking to everyone. Everyone should check that ranking and line up accordingly. Fatty, he numbered that ranking well according to combat power order. Basically, he put the weakest guys and those with a lot of kitchen experience into kitchen roles. So after a while, everyone was done. On the right is the culinary unit, and on the left, the combat unit. He asks if anyone has any objections or wants to switch places. One of the warriors raises his hand and says he wants to hunt too. Look, it's the first time I've seen a nerd goblin. This guy just wants to hunt because he knows this is going to be the only chance in his life to eat fresh meat. Man, what a headache. So he wants to hunt. He calls the goblin over, and the goblin comes, a bit suspicious. Do you remember what happens to those who object? Well, they get treated violently, as usual, and he got kicked right in the groin. Oh, and he was thrown far away. That was his entrance exam. Poor goblin, unfortunately, he won't be able to have any more children. His future was completely blown up. The system issues notifications. With excellent leadership and command skills, he reorganized and established that unit. And as a reward, his charisma increased, as did the level of his leadership skill. As for the other candidates, he clenches his fists and shouts for the combat unit to grab their weapons. And it's time to go hunting. A little farther north of the Black Fortress, in the Great Forest, everyone is already gathered and the forest is very calm. They've been searching for a while but haven't found a single demonic beast. The fairy believes the reason is because of Bobo and Usaru. Yeah, that makes sense. Those two scare everyone, even from a distance. They know those two are their best soldiers, and he can't just leave those two behind. And the fairy says maybe they can lure the monsters with bait. Well, but they don't have any meat, so how are they going to do that? Ah, but she's suggesting a kind of sophisticated bait from the manhwas. The bait she's talking about is a live bait that can attract several demonic beasts. He didn't like that suggestion at all. All right, so he keeps calling out numbers 14, 3, 1, 43, and 7 from the list. Move forward. The fairy asks why he chose those numbers this time, and he says those were the numbers he played in the lottery and left behind before he died on Earth. And now the operation is about to begin. He asks Usaru to grab number 14. So that's exactly what Usaru does. She grabs number 14 by the hand and performs an intercontinental ballistic goblin throw, hurling that goblin far away at incredible speed. Wow. This player's plan is brilliant. They're simply going to use the weak guys as bait, drawing the attention of any monsters nearby. Now they're going to light a fire so that any comrades nearby will see the smoke and come back. The fairy is worried those goblins might die if he keeps throwing them like that. Ah, but he knows that 1 out of every 6 will make it back alive. Meanwhile, he tells Usaru to keep throwing them all without stopping. That group of hunters is starting to think that human has gone crazy. They want to live a long life and don't want to die to any creature in this forest. One of the goblins thinks about running as far away as possible, but as he tries, Bobo approaches with a very adorable look. The goblin starts to stutter. Oh my, it's not what you think. He's going to dedicate his entire life to the Demon King's army. While that goblin is asking for help back there, all our protagonist wants to know is why they are so late. They should have come back a long time ago, at least the first one. Then he hears a noise in the forest, screams and footsteps. Ah, finally one of the goblins arrives, bringing with him an army of monsters that look like giant bees. And look who was thrilled to see that goblin coming back. Now it's just a matter of leaving everything to the soldiers. All he needs to do is land the finishing blow, but his plan isn't going to work out perfectly. Usaru is already heading into battle, shouting, speaking in the third person, and Usaru loves to fight. He immediately smashes one of the giant bees. That really was just with a single blow. There was nothing left, not even a single finishing blow for our protagonist. They're all destroyed, and he can't even use them for meat. Next time, maybe he can't bring those two along. Unfortunately, they'll have to go back to hunt again tomorrow without the two of them. So that's what he does. He gathers everyone and decides to return early the next morning. They're going back to the hunt. Then, already in the kitchen, he decides to check if the ground meat might actually be useful. Ah, he gets ready, gathers his strength, and kicks the door open with a mighty blow, shouting for the slackers who fell short to gather here immediately. But that Lord of the Rings goblin rushes over to him. All our hero wants to know is where the meat from today's hunt is. Galen, the sous chef, says he got it, but its condition is terrible and he doesn't know if they'll be able to use it. The chef says the cook is picky about his tools. Did he get the message? Ah, but when you see his face, you know he understands. Since that meat can't be used whole, he's going to use it as ground meat. He immediately orders the goblin to gather wood and light the fire. Everyone below the rank of commander or battalion is surviving on these terrible, tasteless meals.
If he plays his cards right, it will be easier than he thought. Well, later that night, Choi goes to Abelson's quarters. She asks what happened, and he says it was nothing serious. He was just there to admire her beauty. And speaking of which, she still hasn't had dinner.
He is very grateful to her for the support during that battle, and as a token of his gratitude, he would like to invite her to dinner, or rather, to a meal. She takes a piece of meat, still quite suspicious, but the smell is amazing.
Then she puts it in her mouth and feels an explosion of flavor. That is the most delicious thing she has ever tasted in that castle. The hero saw that she ate everything, not leaving a single piece on the plate, which means that she really liked it.
Well, since she finished, he takes the plate and leaves.
But before that, she asks him what he wants to do when he leaves this place in the future. The only thing that comes to this guy's mind is that he intends to get married.
And man, here we go again with that whole soap opera proposing to that girl. She asks him to leave immediately.
Even though he wants to get married, there's still something else he wants to do. But putting that conversation aside, what about her? What will she do when she leaves there?
And she never thought about that. And when she leaves, she has nothing in mind. So right, Gatling, the divine empire in the capital Graythium, a theocracy ruled by the Pope of the Church Duzes, they actually managed to locate where Belsa Marriott, the next saint, is.
She is imprisoned in the Black Fortress, where the Glutton lives, but unfortunately they have no news about the Demon King's army.
The saint was captured quite some time ago and the demon army hasn't made any demands yet. He stands up saying that in the history of the war between humans and demons, humans have hardly ever managed to invade the Black Fortress. Every time they did succeed, it was because the commander was absent, and attacking head-on would not be a smart decision.
But what if they managed to send a secret rescue team?
Yeah, it seems like they don't have much of a choice. So all he's going to do is summon the hero Osel. This is the Emperor of Gatling and Pope of the Duzes Church, Orvan IV.
So the next day, very early, he gathered the 2 platoons in that Black Forest. But all he could think about was what that girl meant by do nothing, so he arrives at the place where they're going to camp. He calls the platoon commander over and holds out a rope with 2 large pieces of steak, asking them to eat.
The 3 of them eat that tasty, raw meat as if it were the most delicious thing they'd ever tasted. And as I said, the flavor was incredible for all 3 of them.
Oh, and after eating that piece of raw meat, they swore loyalty to him in exchange for a few more portions. Our hero said that was just a free sample, and from now on, only the battalion with the highest number of monsters captured alive would get to dine with him.
And that was the spark that got all the battalions to give their best.
His plan worked. Now he's going to make all the battalion slaves to their own appetites. While all the battalions were out hunting, he always made sure to land the finishing blow, and that way he leveled up.
He gained about 10 points doing this, and his charisma is also increasing. His level has already reached 224, but now all the battalions have finished their tasks, so who will be the winner?
He calculates everything and announces that the winner is the Wolfkin platoon. This will be the first battalion to have the amazing meal with him. The remaining battalions are asking what they're going to eat, but he doesn't care about the rest and tells them to just eat the leftovers if they want. After they finish, they'll gather all the slaughtered meat and take it to the kitchen. Already inside the Black Fortress, the place is in complete chaos, with several golem warriors dead and a hooded figure standing in front of the saint's chambers. While the man was knocking on the door, she thought that maybe she shouldn't have said that to that hero after all.
The man gives up on knocking and opens the door.
So this is where Belsa Marriott is. He removes his hood and says he's there to rescue her.
This guy's Giffen, sent by the Pope.
She apologizes and says she's not going back, so there's no point in him wasting his time there. It's better for him to leave.
This guy would like to go back, but a mission is still a mission.
He's going to take her whether she wants to or not.
She warns him that the glutton lives in that fortress. If this guy catches her, he's going to be in big trouble. So if he tries to do anything to her, she'll use her sacred power and alert everyone. That way, Commander Ems will come to him and it will all be over. The guy punches the saint right in the stomach while saying that he's not a prince now, but a soldier carrying out his mission. And this little problem is pretty easy to solve if she's asleep on the way to the capital. Next, he grabs her by the neck and squeezes, while she thinks that this guy might be able to use the sacred power too. As she loses consciousness, all she can think is that she can't go back to that place again. But in her final moments, all we see is a solid punch right to the middle of his head as someone tells him to take his filthy hands off her. Our hero arrived at the last moment with a dramatic entrance, landing a punch right in the middle of that fake soldier's head.
That punch was really strong and was infused with magical energy.
Who is this human? With just a single punch, he realized that his moves are really good, but compared to the magic he possesses, they're nothing.
Our boy keeps throwing punches, telling him to shut up and let go of her, and then the prince lands a kick right in the protagonist's chest, sending him flying. And now he says he's gonna take both of them.
Yeah, with just one kick he managed to take Choi down. Well, since he has 2 arms, he's gonna take them both.
But the fairy was hiding and saw what happened.
She tries to quickly think of a way to solve the situation, but the only thing that comes to mind is to call Bobo. Then, out of nowhere, she senses a powerful presence, while the prince opens the scroll and realizes he needs to make a few tweaks to this scroll so he can take 2 people with him. But behind him, we spot a high heel. There she is, Remus, asking if he needs a hand carrying both of them. Remus was the glutton everyone was so afraid of. The prince spins around quickly while thinking he had blocked the saint's sacred power. Remus asks the prince to call her Gourmet while she's here, if possible. Oh, but the prince is shaking in his boots because he couldn't sense any magical energy coming from this woman. Maybe it's because of the difference in their levels. Remus, the glutton, all he's heard about this woman is that she devoured thousands of soldiers in a single day. Could that really be true? Remus starts to unleash her terrifying pressure while speaking in a gentle voice, saying she wants to see just how skilled our guest of the day really is. Her presence is terrifying, and he's shaking in his boots all over again. Her power is so scary that the whole room starts to tremble. While he's afraid, down deep on the outside, he's desperately trying to keep his cool. All he's got to do is dodge her attacks. That he'll take the saint with him. Well, but before he can even think another thought, the attacks zip right past him. It was so fast that neither he nor us could even see what happened. Unfortunately, he showed up way too late, while he was trying to make a run for it with the scroll in his mouth. But hey, she actually likes that kind of handwriting, which just makes the whole thing even more fun for her. So he gives up on grabbing the saint and making a getaway, and decides to save his skin. That mission was a total disaster. He activates the teleportation scroll and poof is out of there. How rude. She just asked him for a little favor. All she wanted was to read a bit of that scroll. He left, but not without leaving a piece of himself behind. Even so, she had an absolute blast. Now the real hunt is about to begin. The glutton was a seriously ancient monster, a witch described as ageless. All these names were basically insults people threw at Remus, the commander of the Demon King's 3rd Army Corps. Over the ages, countless demons were born and died, but the Demon King and Remus stood strong, unshaken. However, that endless march of time had dulled so many things that was just brutally cruel for any sentient being to endure. Sometime later, our hero is still getting his butt kicked by the Red Demon. After all, his attacks, and even the way he uses magic, are too basic. His body is super stiff. He really needs to loosen up a bit, right? He just says he'll keep that in mind. Heindrum tells him that no matter how strong he gets, there will always be someone out there who's even stronger. He needs to remember that. He can never hesitate to use whatever means necessary to win, no matter what it takes. Heindrum grabs his arm and lifts him up, while saying that a fair victory is a privilege reserved only for the truly strong. And for today, the work is done. Heindrum heads out, while Shore tries to keep his cool. He asks the fairy to heal him because he feels wrecked inside. The fairy feels like she's just his personal healing potion, all time. Every day, she must heal Guy. While he's getting healed, he's still deep in thought. He remembered that saint told him to get stronger because faith comes from your own strength. She's going to be in charge of protecting him. He tells the fairy that Belson said he needs to get stronger. Oh, but he almost died because of that woman. And he's talking about her. The fairy says that assassin used holy power. And if she was really a saint, why did he attack her? Yeah, there's definitely something fishy about this story. Because a saint is meant to be a super valuable existence, but does this guy really like her that much? Choi thinks the fairy is jealous, while she calls him a woman-chasing fly. If he doesn't quit it, he might die. A little while later, he gets home. I mean, Bobo's house, completely wiped out, and he's praying. Next time he wants to be born as a cat in a rich family. Even Bobo is worried about him now. What the heck happened to this guy? But hold on. 30 minutes earlier, in Remus' office, the commander was facing a huge dilemma. She called him into that room because she was super bored. So she wanted him to do something fun. And just like that, she made his decision for him. Defeat the battalion commander. And he's only got 1 month. She sees the look on his face and asks him if he thinks he can't pull it off. Does he really want her help? How did she help Kirkin? He quickly bows down, saying he'll handle everything on his own. That's settled. He better say goodbye to Bobo because he won't be seeing him for a long time. How does he expect to defeat a battalion commander with a combat power of 900? If he just sits there crying, his toast, and the fairy knows this guy has grown a lot, but a battalion commander is a whole different league. The average power of a battalion commander is around 40,000. Has got barely any time to reach that level. It's an impossible mission. If Precious Bobo could help, that would be awesome. After all, Bobo could go toe-to-toe with the battalion commander, or maybe even win the fight for him. But he knows the main battle will probably end up being a duel. Oh, now he's got an idea. That commander said he only had 1 month to get ready to beat the battalion commander. But she never said there was a main fight.
which means he just has to defeat this guy, and it doesn't matter how he does it.
He could use a sword, he could use a bow and arrow, he could go solo or team up elsewhere.
Maybe he should just interpret it however he wants. Well, I call that cheating.
Guy's thinking about luring that commander into an ambush with Bobo's help.
And that's gonna be the only way to win. No doubt about it. But is this a smart plan?
Or a cowardly one?
And how is a laid-back guy like him supposed to convince a battalion commander to lure him in?
Oh, but of course he will.
He's got a plan. After all, he's the god of the kitchen. And all a pig wants is to enjoy some delicious, fancy meals
Fit for royalty.
And for this plan to work,
He's gonna use
that recipe for roasted beef ribs.
with the precious uru meat he's been saving. He will soak those.
Urum ribs in honey water to draw out all the blood. Then he'll toss the meat into the pot and let it simmer for a bit. And while it's bubbling away, he'll throw in some finely chopped little mushrooms and green onions.
And those mushrooms are super weird. As he slices them,
They look like they've got eyeballs or something.
and next up, he's going to add water, sugar, soy sauce, and a bit of garlic.
This garlic is pretty wild too. It actually makes these crying noises when you peel it.
And it's got a combat power of about 80. Oh, and there's also a squirting fish. That one's got a combat power of 30.
All he has to do is squeeze this fish.
To get the intestinal juices out. Oh, and then you just mix it all together.
After that, toss everything into the pot with the meat and let it all cook.
For at least half an hour. A while later, he's running alongside Bobo. And his stamina is way too low compared to Bobo's.
He's getting totally owned.
But when he got back home, his food was burning.
It all worked out.
A stew of delicious, tender urum ribs was a total hit. Now all he has to do is plate everything
Elegantly and add
a sprinkle of chopped green onions and a little more salt.
a little farther away. Someone else is enjoying a delicious meal of raw meat.
It had been ages since had tasted
Such an elegant and peaceful meal like this. But the only reason he gets to enjoy his peace and quiet is because he handed Ozaru over to Shoy.
Oh, honestly, that was the best decision he ever made.
Every time he's eating,
Someone interrupts him, and this time it's a goblin saying the commander of the culinary squad
is here.
Huh? No way. If he wants, tell him that's not even an option.
But it looks like that guy isn't here for that. He's here to serve him a dish as a token of his gratitude. Now talking, Shoy started speaking that commander's language. Word is, this guy's an amazing cook. Now, hell, get a chance to taste it and see if the hype is real.
So he tells him to let him in.
And there he is, Shoy himself. The guy walks in with a rose in his mouth and a plate in his hand.
It's been a while since he last saw Chef Doris.
But all that chef wants right now is to taste,
The dish Shoy is holding. But he decides not to let his excitement show
and asks
why he's here. Is he just here?
to say thank you
Shoy puts the plate on the table and says it was thanks to him that he earned the most prestigious title in the kitchen. He wanted to thank him sooner, but it wasn't possible. And not to brag,
maybe he does have a ton of cooking skills,
he made this dish from the heart for Chef Doris. These are urum ribs.
prepared with all the love in the world by Shoy.
Doris notices that everything is perfect. The smell,
The color combo, and just how gorgeous the dish looks. He can't resist.
He's gonna try that beautiful dish.
He grabs the meat, feels the texture,
And takes in the aroma. It just makes his mouth water even more. Oh, and while the chef is tasting it,
Shoy is dead set on becoming the god of the kitchen. This guy is definitely going to bow down to him. Man, the taste is unbelievable.
Doris had never tasted
Meat this juicy and delicious before.
Oh, he just can't take it. He wants more.
Demons have weird ways of giving compliments.
He says everything is terrible. How did he do this? How can a human make something this divine? Shoy says he's got even more recipes up his sleeve, and if he wants to try them in the future,
Hell bring over... Alright then, cool. His plan is going just as he hoped.
the commander is starting to think it's because of Shoy's amazing cooking skills. That Commander Remus protects him so much. Well, Shoy says his goodbyes and quickly gets out of there, closing the door.
Heckin' barely.
Hold it together.
Playing that dumb hero role. Yeah, he really is brave.
But his plan is to keep feeding that pig until he gets it nice and fat. When the pig least expects it,
Hell, show his true colors.
and take that pig out in one go. So a week later, Shoy is still going full throttle with his plan. And after scarfing down a bunch of dishes,
The boss says he's not hungry.
today, for some reason,
Tomorrow, he's got a duel.
for the position of battalion commander. So if he loses, he's gonna lose his battalion commander title. In the demon world, there's a saying, that ghost who eats before dying gets his color and charm all refreshed.
Man, he's screwed. If that guy loses the fight, he'll have to battle someone else. All his hard work for the whole week and all his ingredients will all go down the drain. All that commander wants is for Shoy to come watch the fight.
After all, he thinks of him as his lucky charm, his little talisman.
Shoy, crying, poor guy.
Pale and hopeless, thanks him for the invite and says he'll go. Well, the next day,
The commander's battle is about to kick off on that massive training field.
maybe if this guy manages to evolve into a superior boar,
Best, rank S,
he might just be able
to win this fight. But poor Shoy, he doesn't have a chance.
because he gave him way too much food, and he knows that this guy couldn't even walk straight after stuffing himself like that. How is this guy supposed to win a duel? But among them, there's someone else there, Roger. This guy is going to be the moderator instead of Jark. He's the regimental commander of the army corps of the Demon King's army. He asks the challenger and the title defender to step into the arena. And the first one already shows up looking super grumpy and totally in shape. Meanwhile, our title defender is still struggling up the stairs with a ton of effort. Has put on quite a bit of weight. Poor guy. He looks up at the stands, trying to spot his lucky charm, Choi. And since he's there, all will be well. Roger is not happy at all with the delay and tells him to get the fight started. While that giant pig is still catching his breath, the other guy charges in at lightning speed. The pig takes a look and braces for impact. The battle kicks off, and they're locked in an all-out strength war. The giant pig is strong, but this guy's no slouch either. That Minotaur starts pushing while the pig pushes right back. Neither of them is willing to give an inch, and the wood starts to creak and crack. Their power just keeps ramping up, causing an explosion in the arena that smashes everything around them. That shockwave is so massive, it even reaches the stands. And Choi shields himself, but all Choi wants to know is who's actually going to win this fight. Well, once the smoke clears, everyone gets up to see who the winner is. And it was none other than Doris. He completely wrecked his opponent's body and stayed standing. So time later, at Bobo's house, Choi doesn't know whether to feel happy or sad. All he can think about is whether Bobo could really handle that guy. So now he's got to give his plan to hunt down the commander a rethink. He cracks open his monster book again and pulls out a map he drew himself from inside. That's the map he always uses to hunt monsters. And according to his research, powerful creatures like Queen Talus show up in certain territorial domains. But thanks to the sacrifice of the culinary soldiers, he was able to discover their territories. Is he really trying to use those monsters against the commander? That's just suicide. But he says there's a little saying in Korea, if you can't beat your enemy, you should pit enemy against another enemy so you can take down both. All he's got to do is set barbarians against barbarians. If Doris is way too strong, hell, throw a stronger monster at him to fight. Sometime later, precisely 3 days in the Great Black Forest, right? The fairy managed to memorize the entire monster encyclopedia, but it took her 3 straight days. And her head looks like it's about to explode. But he said he told them to split it. She didn't want to? The first target is 100 meters away, and all signs point to it being a giant worm. The name of this worm is Serm. Its name is a mix of the ancient language and means cold worm in the old tongue. And there are also 2 others like it there as well. But that worm is quite reserved and much less aggressive, and will probably not start the fight. This fairy is actually becoming useful. Yeah, in fact, even a fool can be useful from time to time. One of the goblins asks where today's hunt will be, and he says they're almost there. And he wants to know more about a monster that looks like a steel-scaled dragon. Even if he wants to face these monsters head on, he won't have a choice but to attack from a distance, since they're all prepared. He assigns the kitchen squad the mission to clear out the entire area, and they have to kill everything they can. And there's no need to bring back any monsters alive. Well, today's hunt is special because the commander said they can eat everything they kill. As they kill, all they can think about is meat. How delicious! The goblins keep killing pigs and everything else they see in front of them. His plan was to kill all the monsters in the area in order to attract the boss of that territory, but it's not working because the boss still hasn't shown up. Unfortunately, he's starting to think he's going to waste his day. He tells everyone to put away their weapons and light the fire. But then, he hears a crack coming from the forest, which means the boss has finally arrived. All the creatures that were hiding in the forest start to flee. He puts on his glasses and tries to see what's in front of him. And all he sees is a gigantic dragon with scales that look extremely tough. That is the monster called Nidrak, a giant dragon of immeasurable power. At last, the dragon he had been waiting for finally appeared. As the dragon sets everything on fire, he tells everyone to run. While everyone else runs away in fear, our boy is extremely happy with the presence of that boss. All because that thing really can defeat Doran's? Meanwhile, a little farther away in Remus's office, something seems strange to her. It's been 3 weeks since they last heard anything about him. She asks if Hendrik is teaching him any extraordinary power. While Hendrik says no, they're just doing regular training. But come to think of it, does the Red Demon really believe that Choi could beat a battalion commander? Well, the chances are almost 0. Now that she mentioned it, he stopped to notice that Choi has been getting quite close to the battalion commander, Doran's, lately. Yeah, that's right, the giant pig. Well, she told him to win the fight against the battalion commander, and instead, he decided to become friends with him? That must mean Choi has something up his sleeve. What is this guy thinking? Well, over in Doran's office, all we see are dirty dishes, because our hero keeps stuffing his face.
This time, he ate so much that he can't even stand up.
But unlike the last times, Choi is really sad this time. The commander notices that something is wrong with Choi, and Choi says that this might be the last day he can bring food to Doran's because the squad has been facing big problems when they go hunting. But the commander didn't like hearing that at all. The last day? What's the problem?
But, as the commander knows, that meat there is a kind of special monster meat.
And since there's a really strong monster in that forest, even after fighting it for several days, they haven't been able to catch it. And the entire cooking squad is being completely wiped out.
And the commander asks what the monster's name is.
After all, he has noticed that several cooks have been coming back quite injured from the hunt.
And the name of this monster is Mamoru.
I'm sure he just made up that name, inspired by that marbled meat. No doubt about it. Even Chef Dorms has never heard of this type of monster.
But why would our dear hero lie when everyone's safety is at stake?
Dorms suggests lending him some soldiers, but Choi says that's pointless, because even with 100 soldiers, they wouldn't be able to catch that monster. But if Commander Dorms went in person, it would be a different story.
He then leans in very quietly and whispers in the commander's ear that maybe ex-Commander Emis would love to hear about Dorms' achievements.
Well, after saying that, he lets that pig's imagination run wild.
Then he imagines that commander caressing his body and calling him cutie. And in fact, no one can say that's a lie. This guy must be really cute. And as Dorms knows, Commander Emis and he are quite close. And if he can help, he'll make sure to tell Commander Emis everything. So that's settled. Dorms fell into the trap. Or rather, he's going to defeat this monster.
But since our hero isn't foolish, he keeps up his act. Are you being serious? Are you really gonna do this for me?
Oh, thank you so much, Commander Dorms.
So, the next day, at the agreed location, he had already memorized the entire map and was practically a living GPS. He also brought Bobo and Zaro along. If the dragon can't handle that commander, he can just finish him off. And with Bobo and Zaro, he believes he'll really be able to land the final blow. That is, of course, if Zaro allows it. Since all the preparations are done, let's move on to the mission of hunting the giant boar. Sometime later, they continue on their path until they reach the center of the great forest. Everyone finds it strange because even the battalion commander is with them. Apparently, they're gonna face a really big monster this time. Everyone knows that Dorms doesn't like to go anywhere. All he wants is peace and quiet in his own home. So naturally, he thinks everything is really unpleasant. Well, he's already very tired. How much longer are they gonna keep walking? But the one walking there isn't him, it's his mount. Our hero knows that this Dorms is stronger than he seems, so they really need to be careful. He even brought 500 soldiers from his own battalion, but he believes that Nidrik will be able to win this battle easily. Well, sometime later, in the middle of the forest, they manage to hear the sounds of Nidrak. That bastard is getting closer. Finally, after all, Dorms was getting bored. Well, the dragon arrives roaring. Is this the famous Mamoru that Choi was talking about earlier? Upon seeing that dragon, Dorms asks if this is the famous Mamoru that Mr. Choi was talking about. Look, how funny! He feels like he's seen this creature before, and it looks a lot like the old monster Nidrak. But our protagonist quickly comes up with an excuse. Oh, monsters all look alike. Well, the pig falls into the trap. That's true. But anyway, a monster is a monster, and he stands up and says that he and his own battalion will take care of this monster. He gets off his mount while telling Choi not to forget to tell Commander Emis about his deeds on the battlefield. While Nidrak gathers power in his mouth, Dorms prepares a fully charged right punch, while the battalion leader keeps landing several blows up above. All his soldiers down below keep striking the legs and paws of that dragon. But Nidrak is no fool. He breathes fire and manages to burn several on the ground. Dorms pauses briefly just to gain momentum and goes in again. This time he turns into a ball while shouting that this is the meatball smash. Even though the name is funny, this attack is powerful and lands squarely right in the dragon's mouth. But the one who's not happy with this powerful attack is Choi. If this keeps up, the dragon will die. Basically, Dorms' strategy is to use his soldiers to take all the hits for him. But Choi never expected this kind of strategy from him. But up above, Dorms is determined to finish that fight with just one more blow. But before that, he sees one of his soldiers shouting for him, saying that a monster is coming. But what kind of monster would be in Nidrak's territory? Everyone knows that strong monsters don't stay in the same territory. While everyone is shouting that they need to retreat, a giant worm with a mouth full of teeth tries to devour them. And Choi, upon seeing that giant worm, recognizes that it's Sifip. Choi had completely ignored that creature because he thought it wasn't aggressive. But unfortunately, he was wrong and realized that fight was a territorial dispute.
Commander Dorums orders everyone to fall back. And now, what is our protagonist gonna do? Because they can't let Dorums get away unscathed.
Damn! He won't have any choice but to face it head on.
He heads toward Dorums, activating the first hydrant fighting style, Instant Obliteration.
He punches the commander right in the stomach, shouting that it's all his fault, and after doing that, tells Dorums to quickly cancel his order. No one is to retreat there. Everyone must fight bravely like the demons they are. While Nidrak and the worm are fighting, the commander cancels the retreat order, and after taking that punch to his beautiful, fat-filled belly, he feels betrayed by a mere primitive human.
A mere human insect dares to betray him, unleashing all his aura and that terrifying pressure.
He shouts Choi's name while remaining above, drawing everyone's attention. He goes on to say that no one will survive his fatal blow. He's going to risk everything to kill this insolent human and keeps gathering power in his body, activating level 2 expansion, the fatal blow. While Choi watches everything that guy is doing in disbelief.
The fairy tells Choi to run away from there quickly.
The dragon charges forward to attack. One of the bolts of lightning coming from Commander Dorums' body hits Choi, and he almost died from just that ability. But thanks to the worm that appeared, the commander wasn't able to defeat him with a single blow. But the commander is determined. With bulging veins, the commander says he won't rest as long as Choi is alive. He's going to catch him and tear him apart completely while he's still alive. But all Choi can think is, where are Bobo and Zaro? That last attack from Seafib hit everyone, both Bobo and Zaro. In other words, Choi is completely alone against Dorums.
But Dorums is so furious and grits his teeth so hard that he starts to bleed.
He doesn't know what ability Dorums is using, but all he knows is that everything about that guy is over the top, including his power. So all he needs to do is buy a little time. As he runs from Dorums, he asks Raquel which monster groups are showing up on the map she memorized earlier. Well, as he runs, the fairy says that to the left, at 11 o'clock, he'll reach the war dog's habitat. So that's the way he goes. Even though Dorums is very strong, that fat pig is apparently slower than Choi.
Will he be able to survive by running away like this?
He doesn't even know, but that's the only option this guy has. As Choi runs, Dorums runs too, trampling everything and everyone, including monsters. Everyone knows that weak monsters avoid the strong, but if it's in their habitat, together with their offspring, the story changes completely. As Dorums runs, he gets more and more irritated and yells at Choi to stop running around like a headless chicken. Just face your fate head on. As he says this, he's already made up his mind. At the very least, today will be the day you die. Choi Ryuzuke. Then he activates his third expansion, the Fallen Flower. All that power starts to overflow from the commander's body, as he says that expansion promotion is a demon's strongest weapon. And now that he's used this power, he's screwed. Well, while Choi tries to quietly slip away, the commander is already close by, but he keeps coughing up blood, and the fairy senses that the demonic energy from that commander is fading. Most likely, this guy reached his limit after unleashing the falling flowers, which means he used up too much energy trying to kill that dragon.
Choi thought this would be the last breath of his life, but out of nowhere the commander leaves, and even he is shocked by this move.
The commander says he'll kill him when his strength is fully restored. He will never forget this humiliation.
But as he tries to run away from that mess, someone calls out to the pig, and it's none other than Choi.
He's already in the air, ready to kill that pig, but the commander shouts, "How does a disgusting human think he can kill the almighty commander with just his fist?" Choi activates the Ren drum style, but this time it's the 7th move, the wave-destroying explosion. The two fists collide, causing an explosion that destroys everything in the area. Choi believed that this attack would be the last one. How did that bastard manage to withstand this attack? But everyone knows that a commander, even when wounded, is still a commander, and that guy is extremely strong. Choi seriously underestimated that commander. While they keep testing their strength against each other, someone arrives. The power of the two is overwhelming and even forms a vortex. A purple light appears. Commander Ems just came to see what all that commotion was in front of her castle. While Choi and the commander keep clashing, that vortex expands and engulfs the entire surrounding area, hurling Choi far away, only stopping because he hit his back against a tree. His whole body aches. The commander, seeing that Ems is there, begs to be saved and shouts that he hasn't lost the battle yet, but all she says to him is, "Shut up, you damn pig. How long is this pig gonna be so stupid as to be fooled by a human?
He knows very well that they are at war with the humans. And to think that someone like him, a battalion commander, would be in this situation of war simply makes her tremble with rage. All she wants to do with this guy is end his life right then and there. But Choi quickly comes out from under that tree shouting the commander's name. It's exactly as she said. She shouldn't worry about people like him, and she lands a direct blow right on Commander Dorms' back. And with that, he finally managed to defeat the battalion commander. This really wasn't the ending Ems had expected, no doubt, but she actually kind of likes Choi's tricks. A little farther away in the castle, Choi explains everything that happened to the commander. Everything Choi did makes her very curious, to the point where she almost wants to open up his head to see what's inside. Her curiosity makes him very grateful, but obviously she wouldn't be able to handle all the curiosity inside his head. So does that mean Choi used her own orders against her? That's an extremely frightening way to think about it, which means she'll have to be more precise with her requests from now on. But if he keeps acting like this, there won't be a next time. If he keeps stirring up trouble with his tricks, again, he knows exactly what's coming. And after everything goes down at Bobo's place, he flops down on the floor, relieved to have survived one more day. You'd never guess that Doris could be a shape-shifting prosecutor, but the fairy disagrees. That was just a martial art, exclusive to the demon race. Maybe Cowhead has more info about that. He almost bit the dust in that hunting field, and after that, taking care of Bobo feels like a walk in the park. The commander handled everything, with just a single move. He actually feels a little bad for Doris, because that pig wasn't actually that bad. But inevitably, he managed to land the final blow, snagging all the experience points for himself. He covers his face and apologizes. The fairy can't believe he didn't grab the experience points. But while he was saying, "I'm so sorry," he was laughing. Did you guys really think he wouldn't scoop up the last experience points? With the final hit, he opens up his system to check how many points he racked up. After all, he went through a lot. Now has at level 420, and he's got 200 hero points to spend. Plus, a few question marks popped up, and he has absolutely no clue what those are about. He asks the fairy. The fairy's clueless. All she knows is that the system never messes up, and she's totally sure this isn't a glitch. But the fairy is still super curious, and all she wants is to see his combat power. I mean, he just gained 48 levels in one go. She puts on her glasses to check out the results, and the result is 13,936. Whoa, that shot up a ton. Oh, now he starts bragging. Feels yesterday. I couldn't do anything, not even against the goblin. The fairy totally saw this coming, and that's why she prepared a little surprise just for him. She grabs a full glass and hands it to him as a reward. So they make a toast to the day he chops off the Demon King's head, and also to the day of his wedding. Glory and riches. All right, a little later, we get a peek at Shoi's daily routines, and he's got them split up perfectly between chilling out, sleeping, prepping, cooking, hunting, and training. He sticks to this routine firmly. Even though he's gotten super strong, cracking his knuckles, and getting ready for training, he's already plotting to sneak into Belson's quarters tonight. After all, there are still some unanswered questions. This time, he showed up way too early at the training grounds. And by the way, Heindrum congratulates Choi for taking down Doris. And actually, he's got a few questions about that fight. Has he ever heard of a promoter technique? But Heindrum, that fighting style is super old school and pretty informal. Combat usually gets split into two types. Formal combat, which is all about the moves, and informal combat, which is basically missing the structure of the formal one. The difference between the two is pretty straightforward. Formal combat has way fewer variations, while informal combat is passed down even more secretly. So it's the difference between attack skills and buffing skills. So that means Heindrum's skill is a skill promoting style, but Heindrum knows that the promoter skill is actually an ancient combat ability that's been passed down for ages. And any demon who uses ki can pick it up. But if you're not careful, it's an insanely powerful, dangerous skill that only a handful dare to use. And the side effects, they're brutal. Shoi's over here wondering if he can actually learn this skill. After all, he's got some kind of demonic kai too. But the demonic kai he's got inside his body isn't exactly natural. And he was told it's dangerous too. But Shoi's stubborn. And what if he doesn't really have demon ki? Just some leftover traces? No big deal. After all, they've still got the Saint Belson. Where Shoi keeps pushing, the red demon is deep in thought. Should he teach this technique or not? But Shoi wants to learn that, because if he doesn't, he's gonna die anyway. Come on, that commander. She treats him like he's just some kind of entertainment. And he doesn't even get to pick his fights. So every single battle is life or death. Or actually, more like just death. Every fight he's in is basically an execution. Because she never sends him out, hoping he'll make it out alive. But the red demon gets why Shoi is so frustrated. Heindrum isn't sure if he should really teach this technique to Shoi. He's kind of on the fence about it. But hey, a promise is a promise. So he decides to kick off the training. A little farther away, in the Divine Empire of Gartrin, down in the cathedral's underground prison, the Pope pays a visit to Prince Ozolt while he was busy wondering who the Pope really was
the Pope offers him a shot at redemption. After all, there's no such thing as an eternal sinner in the eyes of God.
The prince asks what exactly he's supposed to do, but the answer is simple.
He has to take out Belson Mariotes. The prince is floored.
Wasn't this supposed to be a ransom demand? Why the change? What does the church stand to gain if the saint dies?
But the Pope says he doesn't need to know that.
Well, the prince is still worried about the glutton
Who's holed up inside that fortress. But the Pope just grins and tells him not to sweat it. He's going to assign 4 knights to go with him. And the glutton will also be leaving the fortress for a while, creating the perfect opportunity for him to actually pull it off this time. As he hands the prison keys over to the prince, he says that victory doesn't allow for failure. A little ways off from there, Choi is still in the middle of his
his training. Heindrum tells him to control everything he's got inside while wondering how on earth
a human can practice demon arts. But honestly, all he wants is to see where this is going to end up. And looking at Shoi's face, he looks kind of half dead,
half alive. So I think this guy is dying.
The red demon said that Choi didn't have much demonic energy. So by going through this training, everything would be fine. But the saint is trying to hold back the demonic power inside Shoi's body.
How can he say if he's going to be okay or not when he's not even a professional?
What she did there was tie up the demonic key. But then he unleashed that demonic energy,
claiming he can control it. While he's groaning in pain, Heindrum asks what could happen to him.
And the saint says it's already too late to fix the released demonic key. So all she can do now is just trying to get his body to accept it. Instead,
she starts suppressing all the demonic ki
with divine power.
That way, she'll be able to change the concentration that his body can handle.
It's like building up resistance to a poison,
but the red demon doesn't believe that's possible, nor she never been done before.
And there's also a chance that the internal demonic ki might rebel
against the divine power
and go completely out of control. But no matter which path they choose, it will lead to the worst outcome. She knows that, but she decides to give it a shot.
After all, there aren't any options left. So she starts pouring out all her holy power.
Sometime later, Choi wakes up. And this time he's lying on a soft bed. A lot has happened during that time. And check this out, he's got a ton of muscles now. And the first 2 waiting for him to wake up are Bobo and the fairy Rachel. This guy was in a coma for 2 whole days.
Straight. 3 days.
And get this, she doesn't remember a thing.
So he opens up his system to see if he can find any weird status anomalies,
or maybe check if he managed to learn the skill promote.
And then he freaks out when he realizes that now he can use spells and magical abilities,
including lightning bolts.
And he's got demonic kai too. Oh my gosh,
what is this?
Thank you so much. They don't get to be alone for long. Pretty soon Commander,
Remus, and Heindrum show up.
The red demon knew he was about to wake up,
and he quickly greets the commander. She tells him to stay still and quiet.
After all, he's still recovering in this fragile body. Heindrum told her everything,
that he was trying to use demonic ki.
But he also told her something really interesting.
She got super excited about the work of that saint.
She totally deserves a bow.
As for the saint, not bad at all. But in the end, he tells her,
let's just say it's not all that fun. Well, she gets close to him and says that this time,
she's gonna help him out.
After all, his part of her lovely collection of toys. While she tells him to consider this an honor, she pours a ton of demonic ki right into his body. Ouch, that looks like some unbearable pain.
He screams out the commander's name. As Choi starts to lose consciousness, he hears her saying that after he gets sleep and wakes up again, he'll be just fine. And with that, they should head back to the office. After all, the Demon King called her out of the blue. Most likely, he's going to give her some kind of mission to do.
A few days later, over at Boba's house,
the saint is still keeping up her daily treatment after that whole incident with the demonic kai control.
Always.
He thanks her for treating all his injuries.
She tells him to stop saying stuff like that. After all, he only managed to get through the crisis thanks to his own willpower. While she's mumbling, that has also her only hope. But it looks like he actually heard what she was muttering. But she says she's heading out. After all, she's finished all the treatment she had planned for him. But he's left deep in thought.
What does Belson really mean when she leaves mumbling things like that? What on earth is going on in this world? Why are there demons protecting a saint? Humans are so twisted. And he's just an outsider in this world?
He doesn't have any other choice. And he knows he just has to wait until the day she finally tells him the whole truth. So
later that night,
he keeps pestering the red demon, begging him to teach him how to control demonic ki so he can learn it too.
But the red demon, Heindrum, knows he can't push this human body too far.
But Choi points out it's already been 3 days since he woke up. And he says he could already use magic and demonic ki. But all that's running through the red demon's mind
is that it's already been 3 days
since Remus left.
Choi asks about the Kanane tribe's fighting style. Curious, no?
But Heindrum is distracted,
worrying about the meeting at the Demon King's castle.
After all,
that's an annual event.
But for some reason,
he's got a really bad feeling about it this year.
Choi notices that Heindrum is totally spaced out during their chat.
And honestly, these days, he seems super busy with all his duties as corps commander.
Is there anything Choi can do to help out?
But Heindrum says it's all good. After all, the commander will be back soon. Even though the commander was called away super early, this year won't be any different from the others.
Heindrum tells him to just worry about himself. After all, he can take care of himself.
and also look after the whole squad of soldiers. Shoi bangs his head on the table and salutes.
Yes, sir.
Heindram knows that Shoi is getting stronger and stronger passing day. And with that demonic Kai sneaking around inside his body, his physical body is definitely going to level up a lot. If he manages to stabilize everything, his growth is going to be off the charts. Then Heindram senses the presence of divine power and goes into full-on alert mode. After he releases a bit of his Kai, Shoi gets totally freaked out. The red demon grabs his weapon in a flash while announcing that there's another divine power, a powerful entity inside the castle. Besides Saint herself, in other words, there's an intruder in the castle. And as the commander, he's got to check it out himself. The intruders are saying that getting in was easy, but the knights keep asking Lord Griffin why the glutton isn't in that fortress. He tells everyone to shut up while confirming that the glutton really isn't there. But even so, they can't let their guard down because there's another monster called the Red Nightmare lurking around. And speaking of which, look who just showed up, asking how that insolent human knows Remus isn't there. Everyone whips out their weapons and gets ready to rumble. He tells Lucas and Leo to go find the Saint, and only he and Orca will take on the Red Nightmare. The Red Nightmare's got it all figured out. So these guys are after the Saint, and her holding cell isn't too far from here. Oh boy, fighting humans isn't exactly a challenge for him. But now, dealing with two while the other two make a run for it, that's a whole different ballgame. While they're staring each other down, someone comes sprinting through the hallways, shouting Heindram's name, and it's Shoi. Things are looking pretty intense over there. Shoi's still worried about the red demon. He rushes over, asking if he's okay. But he clearly told Shoi not to follow him. Still, for now, he's got to admit he's grateful. He tells Shoi to hurry over to the Saint, grab her, and get the heck out of there. And then he tosses a necklace to him. Shoi catches the necklace and asks what he's supposed to do with it. While blocking the prince's attack, he tells Shoi to use the necklace as proof to summon the high-ranking officers from the unit over there. All right, that's the plan. Shoi grabs the necklace and bolts out of there. The prince doesn't want to let Shoi escape and orders the others to stop him right now. But Heindram says that insolent human can't take the Saint away from here without his permission. Insolent human. And he quickly activates Heindram's combat style, the 7th move, Explosive Destruction. Everyone knows just how powerful that move is when Shoi uses it. But what kind of power does it have when Heindram himself unleashes it? As he's running, the fairy announces that the Hero's Challenge has appeared. And that challenge is basically the Hero's Quest. The evil humans have come to kill Belson Mariotes. And as a hero, his duty is to protect the next Saint. And who knows, maybe if he overcomes these challenges together, love might just bloom. In other words, protect the Saint at all costs. And the reward? 1,000 points. And hey, maybe even a future marriage proposal. Oh, now he's super fired up. But there's something else bugging him. Why do the humans want to kill the Saint? And also, that reward is massive. 1,000 points. He dashes off at full speed, knowing he's got to rescue Belson Mariotes right this instant. But the Saint has no clue what this guy's talking about, and she wants to hear every single detail. But there's no time. While he's inside the Saint's chambers, there are 3 guards out there holding the line so they can make their escape. The guards tell him to take the Saint quickly and get out of there as fast as possible. He grabs the Saint by the arm and drags her away while she's yelling at him to wait. But sadly, this time he just apologizes, saying he can't be a gentleman right now. He grabs her by the arm and throws her over his shoulder, and the desperate escape begins. A little farther away, in the meeting room at headquarters of the 3rd Army Corps, Roger is puzzled. He thought Doris would lose Remus' favor sooner or later, but he was so dumb. He lost to a mere human. Remember, this guy is the commander, 3rd Army Corps. Roger, Commander Remus told him to take care of everything while she was away, so he wraps up that meeting right there, saying that as long as everyone just follows his orders, everything will turn out just fine. But then, as always, a goblin bursts through the door, calling out Commander Roger's name. Oh, what's this now? The goblin says that the human head chef showed up there with Heindram's necklace, yelling that some humans attacked the castle because they're after the Saint. Man, that commander is seriously stressed out now. Like, really? Who dares to disturb his peace and quiet? He goes to find Shoi and the Saint and asks them to explain the whole situation to him. And, well, that's exactly what Shoi does. He explains that Heindram sensed the divine power and dashed off after the humans. And the humans were also trying to kill the Saint. Hold up, wait, he didn't get any of that. The humans were trying to kill the Saint. After hearing all that, he asked Shoi to explain it calmly. Then the commander yells for everyone to get down. Shoi jumps in and protects the Saint from the sudden attack, lightning fast, all while telling everyone to protect the Saint. The commander still thinks this whole thing is just ridiculous. How are humans actually trying to kill Saints? Everybody knows that's supposed to be the demon's job. But everything's upside down here. While Shoi is defending the Saint, the guards are shouting to light the signal fire and alert everyone about the human attack. But Shoi keeps yelling that everyone needs to protect the Saint because they're after her. Roger activates the movement restriction and a bunch of chains shoot out, trying to trap everyone there. But Shoi, realizing this isn't going to work, activates his combat art, Heindram, the 7th move. And with that, he charges at all the knights, unleashing the Wave Destroyer explosion, landing blow after blow, all while shouting for everyone to protect the Saint. Heindrum, the prince, and the other knights just watch the fight unfold while the prince is laughing because he just lost a poor friend. And this guy just used his own subordinate as a shield, but the red demon was already expecting that. Has that strong, even taking into account that holy power, demonic key, our natural enemies is still at least on the level of a division commander. The prince just keeps on laughing. The red nightmare that made all of Drazen tremble in fear was just a plain old demon after all. But Heindrum knows this prince doesn't stand a chance. So why is he so chill about it? But the reason is obvious. It's all because Commander Remus, the glutton, isn't here. And without her, this whole fortress is going to come crashing down. All he has to do is keep the red demon busy. His underlings can easily take care of any low-level trash. Heindrum thinks he's totally right, because Remus isn't around, and he's also well aware of the skill level of the fortress top brass, which means a ton of info has leaked out. He has no reason to waste any more time on puny humans like him. The red demon tells him to shut up and just come at him, but the prince knows that his power just doesn't match up to the prince's power. How does he think he's going to win this fight? In that case, he needs to burn one thing into his brain, and that's nothing less than true strength. He can overcome all that incompatibility. Well, but nobody expected that the Demon King's army had a hero, which means even the saint, him, and even that traitor. So there are about 3 corrupted humans now, while Shoy is dead set on buying time until the fortress soldiers show up. Even if these humans are super strong, they can't take on a whole army. All they can do is surrender, and the guy just looks over and grins saying, "Fail? Are you sure about that?" The supervising commander has already managed to tie up a few knights, thanks to that Heindrum combat technique. That human pulled off the Nate, knowing there's no way out, activates self-destruction while chanting, "His body belongs to God alone." And now he burns this body and offers it back. Therefore, grant me the strength to punish evil. Well, his body starts getting pumped full of holy energy and is completely, totally swallowed up by flames. That Nate just triggered a spell that burns up his own body. I'm sure no sane person would ever use a spell like that. That spell created a wall of fire infused with the divinity of a high-ranking Nate. Most people would be completely incinerated with just a single touch. The other Nate just keeps laughing while saying that even a high-ranking demon from outside couldn't get through that easily. So Hero, now's the time to give up and just hand over the saint. But in the end, all he's really doing is forcing him to kill her since he's still just a human. But unfazed by him, Belson is right by his side. The Nate thinks this whole thing is just completely ridiculous. And even after seeing what the Sacred Flame can do, he still wants to fight. The saint cries, saying that the Divine Empire has been gone long time. Shoy has no idea what this woman is talking about. All they want is for Mariotes to obey every order. As she cries, she shouts that it doesn't matter if she's a real puppet or a saint or not. Well, the guy slams his sword into the ground, saying he really hates emotional speeches, and he yells at the hero again, telling him he's got 10 seconds. Since this guy is even giving him a time limit, all Shoy has to do is try to last as long as he can. In other words, there's only one way forward. So the Nate starts the countdown, 9, while Shoy unleashes all his demonic ki using Promote, level 1, in full bloom. The saint can't believe that Shoy is actually trying to use demonic ki, and she yells at him to stop, or else his body won't be able to take it. Meanwhile, the countdown goes on, 8. But Shoy knows that at this rate, everyone's gonna die anyway, and he has to do this no matter what happens. Well, his heart feels like it's about to explode, and now he kicks it up to the second form, and the guy keeps counting 7 seconds. As he powers up, he remembers Heindrum explaining that through 3 stages, the blooming, the full bloom, and the flowers. Each step up the martial arts ladder means you get way more dangerous. So never jump to the next level without mastering total control. Man, he said so many times it left Shoy calluses on his ears. As he skips steps, he apologizes to the red demon, and the countdown's already at 5 seconds. As he screams, every single vein in his body is popping out like crazy. He says that this time, he's gonna go totally overboard. While the countdown hits 4 seconds, he feels like his heart could stop any second now. And his whole body is yelling at him to quit this madness. My fairy thinks this hero's lost his mind. She knows things are looking bad, but using Promote at this level, he's going to die. His body just can't handle this. But he's not listening to a single word anyone's saying, and he cranks up Promote, level 3. Falling flowers. At the same time, he tells Rachel to throw on the buff and keep it going nonstop. The Nate can't believe he's just found a human who can actually activate the skill, Promote, which means this guy is no ordinary hero. But all Shoy says is for him to win. If you've got it, and he charges in at lightning speed. A pitch black body, that's solid proof. He's pushed Promote all the way to level 3. As he parries, dodges, and blocks some of Shoy's attacks, he's thinking Shoy's probably gonna run out of stamina in a few minutes. After all, a human can't use demonic arts for very long. Shoei keeps throwing punches, and he just keeps blocking them. While the Nate yells that all he has to do is wait, and victory will be his. Shoei's fighting Hedon, barehanded, against that sword that's blazing with holy fire. And with one of his blocks, he knocks the sword aside, with just a flick of his wrist. That guy's never seen anyone move like that before, and stop a sword with just his wrist. As he takes a punch right in the chest, he's thinking he's never seen anyone move like that. That punch landed perfectly, smack in the middle of his chest. But that Nate held his ground, standing tall, while saying that humans have been corrupted by temptations. Doesn't he feel even a little bit embarrassed about himself? Meanwhile, Shoi's thinking he's already at his limit. But if he goes down now, the saint is going to be taken away. He remembers once the words of the red demon. Promote is a technique that pushes your body to its absolute limits. If he overloads his body using combat arts, on top of that, he'll never be able to recover from it. But he knows exactly what he has to do. After all, that silver-haired beauty is crying right in front of him, and there's absolutely no way he's going to lose. So he starts shouting, declaring that he'll protect the ones who matter to him till the very end. As he yells, activating the last of his demonic ki, he tries to cling to that feeling. And there's no one waiting for him back home. His body keeps pushing past its limits, but he couldn't care less if his body collapses. After all, there's nowhere for him to go back to anyway. So all he's gonna do is give it his all. The saint starts to pray when she realizes he's using both types of power, demonic kai and holy power. But she knows those two are total opposites. So she starts praying. After all, if he keeps using both holy power and demonic ki, his body could literally explode on the spot. While she's praying for Shoi's body not to go kaboom, he activates the combat art. Heindrum, a human Nate, can't believe he's still stacking even more combat arts on top of that, which makes his job way easier. I mean, the guy basically chose to self-destruct in the end, but Shoi stands his ground, activating the first form. An instant obliteration, and he takes a massive leap while the Nate taunts him to come at him, saying hell give Shoi the pathetic death he deserves. Well, Shoi charges in with a right hook, and the Nate manages to block it, still calling him useless. But Shoi isn't done with his barrage of attacks just yet. There's still more to come, and now he activates the combo punch with Heindrum's martial form. It's another instant obliteration move. He pulls off a combo attack form. Now he's able to land a flurry of punches in a row, and this time, our Nate isn't going to be able to block all those hits. Watching that display of power, he realizes Shoi isn't just using martial arts techniques. He's actually managed to modify them. Unlike before, the instant obliteration and the attack combo were so intense that part of his power shot up into the sky and could be seen all over the region. The Nate, underneath that leather outfit, was actually wearing some kind of armor, and that tin can got totally dented just from the power of Shoi's fists. Unfortunately, Shoi pushed his body to the absolute limit, but at last he came out on top in that fight, and after it was all over, he can't even handle the weight of his own body anymore, and falls. The goddess rushes over to him, grabs hold of his body, and realizes he's completely ice cold, and he's barely even breathing. Everyone thought that Nate was already dead, but then out of nowhere, he jumps up, yelling that he was way too underestimated. He thinks Shoi could actually be a real threat to the Empire in the future. So he's got to finish him off right here, right now. But before he can even swing his sword, the red demon's powerful hands grab his head. While he's apologizing for being late, he just completely crushes the head of that crowd, human in his hands, and the saint was blown away by the sheer power of the red demon. Now the red demon realizes that Shoi used his martial arts combined with attack power, taking advantage. Shoi's condition is critical. Will the saint be able to save him? She doesn't know, but she's going to do everything she possibly can. After all, she's sure it's not his time yet. In the waiting room of the Demon King's castle executive on the day of the regular commander's meeting, Commander, Remus is complaining about all these mediocre snacks. Honestly, that cake looks delicious to me, but everyone knows they're obsessed with raw meat. In the back, a girl tells her to quit whining. Big mouth. That one is commander of the Demon King's 4th Army Corps, Park Hyuna. She used to be a hero too. Apparently, Remus and her don't get along at all. If it weren't for one little detail, Remus would have killed her hundreds of times by now. Seriously, she never learns to show any respect. If it weren't for the no fighting big commanders rule in the Corps, she'd be dead for sure. Suddenly, a rat scurries in and starts delivering an urgent report about the Black Fortress. He starts saying that the Gaiden Empire set a fortress on fire. 4 knights attacked, including a hero rank. Loads of soldiers were killed and tons more got hurt. Every time Remus leaves the fortress, those disgusting humans end up attacking her. But this time, the regular meeting got rescheduled. And she thinks that was no mere coincidence, right? Demon King. A little while later, there's Shoi chilling on a comfy bed, totally refreshed and good as new. His body is honestly amazing. He made it out alive. Now that he's all better, the fairy starts smacking him because he was way too reckless. Yeah, he thought he had lost. Judging by how much it hurt,
He was definitely a goner.
but somehow he actually pulled it off. He managed to use his martial arts in battle. But that monster survived a direct hit too. Game over. He lost. But at the very end, Cowhead showed up and started smashing everyone. In other words, he was the one who landed the finishing blow on everyone. And after that, the Saint and she took turns, taking care of him every single day. Meanwhile, Hyndra brought food, and Bobo stayed by his bedside, taking really good care of him. Everyone knew that if this guy made it out alive, it was only because of a miracle. And if he tries that again, he'll probably end up dying before his time. He points his finger at her and says he's hearing a buzzing sound. Is he planning to hit her again? But this time, it's a whole different story. He runs his finger across her face while apologizing for making her worry so much. She did really well too, but apologies aren't enough to erase all the hurt Shay's carrying. She remembers him praying to God to send her straight to hell. A few hours later, the bullhead figured out that he can only pull off that move from demonic ki that Remus planted in him. Meanwhile, she's already chilling in her fortress, hugging her loyal dog. Bullhead has said it a bunch of times already that he's got talent, but if he keeps pulling these crazy stunts, one of these days, he's gonna end up dead. And without Remus' help, he would have been toast long time ago. After hugging her dog, she starts getting a little bored. And everybody knows what happens to Shoy when she gets bored. But what's she even doing there? Wasn't there a meeting? She dashed straight back to her castle because everyone was getting killed by somebody. So she really shouldn't be stressing over just one silly meeting, right? Which means she just canceled the meeting and headed back. She thinks Demon King guy might be a little bit nuts. Both of them get the chills. While she says it's not important right now, she's thinking even though she implanted demonic ki inside him, it's impressive that a human is already at the level of a commander. And he used that ki like it was his own. Cowhead and Shoy are both worried about the Demon King, while Remus is getting more and more interested in Shoy. Things are getting more complicated for Remus and the Demon King. She asks if he remembers the time when they managed to conquer the whole world. Even when he said he was going to join that man, every time, even when it was against her will, she still followed every order he gave because she knew what he was trying to protect. The Demon King asks what she means by bringing this up. This is the Demon King, Tegrate. She insists that if he goes that far with someone like her, it might end up causing trouble. He didn't like hearing that at all. What arrogance.
It almost sounds like she's saying she won't obey him anymore, which means she's lived so long that she's running out of purpose in life. She keeps walking. I knew he would say that. She doesn't want to fight with him, so she's going to withdraw now. But she's really getting bored with all the time that's passed and told him to think carefully. This is her last piece of advice as his loyal, longtime companion. And with that, she says goodbye and heads to the 3rd Army Corps at Bobo's house. While Choi says goodbye to Cowhead and Emmys congratulates Heimdall. After all, he was able to defeat a hero-class human on his own, which means it's time for him to be promoted. Cowhead appreciates her words, but thinks it's not the right time yet, because all this guy wants is to enjoy and witness Choi's growth a bit longer. He also wants to learn a little more about Miss Emmys so that he can grow even more as a person. Well, upon hearing these words, she was moved. Alright then, she quickly changes the subject and says that the castle became a complete mess after the human invasion, so they need to start the reconstruction. And since she's getting bored, she's thinking about holding a tournament with the goal of selecting the new commander for the 3rd Army Corps. And back at Bobo's house, Choi is deep in thought. When he checks his system after upgrading the hero shop to intermediate, he has about 950 points left, and it would be a complete waste to just let them sit there. Since he completed the mission, he also earned about 1,000 points. Now there are all kinds of items and even a new division category. Now he can equip chest armor, leg armor, and a helmet, which means he should take the opportunity to upgrade his armor, but he knows that these are all just basic armors, and the cost-benefit ratio is terrible. None of them provide any kind of stat bonus. Even some accessories come with different options, but it's very hard to figure them out. So he decides to upgrade the combat power meter first. This way he can now scan and calculate a target's combat power based on strength, endurance, agility, and magical power, spending only 150 points to upgrade that item. But then he notices an item called Wrath and Magical Creation. Well, it seems that he can create his own unique ability and use it to defeat his enemies, but it costs 500 points. This is actually not an item, but rather a unique skill creation system. And he can turn a kick into a skill. So by using this ability, a normal kick can hit much harder, being transformed into a skill. Well, that's exactly what he does. He spends 500 hero skill points and acquires the skill creator, activating the skill creation process, which observes and records the user's mana and physical movements for a set period of time.
and the start and end times can be manually set by the user.
Now he understands how to turn a move into a skill.
This is all very interesting.
So he rushes to record all his movements as well as his mana.
He starts by recording a kick first. With a burst of energy, the system finishes the recording and now begins generating rage, then optimizes physical balance and also optimizes mana control, and now starts automatic adjustment. As he watches all those notifications, he doesn't understand what the system is doing, but he remains completely excited. After all, his life is truly becoming an isekai story.
But while he's excited, the system issues several alerts.
Unfortunately, the rage creation failed.
Please do everything again the correct way.
Oh, for crying out loud. He did exactly what the system told him to do.
So why on earth isn't it working?
The fairy approaches and says that the system can't recognize the user because of some kind of bug, since he's using demonic kai.
The hero system security is literally the strongest in the world.
It's not the server's fault. In fact, the responsibility is all his, because he decided to use demonic kai.
In other words, it's all that fairy's fault. Poor thing. Now he's starting to get pissed off with this whole system and security thing, but the system doesn't care about him and immediately activates a hero mission.
And just like that, he lost 500 points.
But it's still too soon to despair.
He can still earn more points.
Now it's time to forget the past and move forward. Create your own story through your own strength. And the objective of that mission is to create a unique rage reward. Well, if he was already angry, now after losing 500 points, there's no way he'll be able to stay calm. Sometime later, at Hydron's training field, he's there again, begging the cow-headed guy for more strength, and he's pleading with Hydron to teach him how to develop his own personalized rage.
He never mentioned that kind of ability to him. How does this guy know?
But anyway, he decides to help.
And actually, he was thinking about training him anyway. And now the real training is about to begin, and he'll spend 10 days training tirelessly with Hydron. On the 9th day, meditation. On the 8th day, he did some movement training.
On the 12th day, he did a lot of push-ups.
Every time he got home, he was extremely exhausted. And now he'd even managed to get a double bed, but the saint kept healing him tirelessly. Well, and on the last day, his training was finally completed, but at the cost of a lot of sweat and blood.
A system notification appeared.
He had finally completed his mission, and now he was at level 461, having surpassed all his limits as a hero, breaking free from the conventional mold, and an extremely special reward would be granted. His combat power is about 26,520.
And now he has his own rage and his own modified version, as well as the Hydron martial arts fighting style.
He's truly becoming a noble when it comes to strength.
Well, on the day of the tournament, the host Jarkey is back and announces to everyone the start of the event to select the first commander of the 13th Battalion, and this time there are an estimated number of more than 1,000 participants.
That tournament consists of about 3 matches, and this time it will have a completely different format, even including outfits from the commander selection games. And the first match will begin in just 1 hour.
This tournament is going to be completely outside the rules.
A relentless race for kills. While Choi is doing his daily stretching, a girl approaches saying she's going to watch him for a while, and she notices that he's human and sees that he has black hair. But Choi, looking up from below, is startled by what he sees in front of his eyes.
Well, that girl got really close. She's still analyzing him.
If he has black hair, he must have a combat gauge.
It means that, at first glance, he's just an ordinary hero.
But for some reason, she senses the smell of demonic ki on him.
Could he be a spy?
But Choi is excited, though a little scared.
After all, he was the only human in the demon army.
Hydron asks her to step back while saying that she is the commander of the 4th Corps Park Yuna. He has to deliver a request to the commander of the kitchen squad on Remez's orders.
Well, whatever. If someone asks her to change her path, all she'll do is change her path. But something's not right. Why is that bullheaded guy putting a human by his side?
But this time, not as food, but as a commander. Her mission is just to observe this human. But this is going to get very interesting.
No doubt about it. Bullhead says that girl is very strange sometimes, but she's still a commander of the 4th Corps, and she's also a former hero like him.
She came here to observe the tournament because the Demon King ordered her to do so.
But Ramiz used the word watch instead of observe, so it's better for him to stay away from her. But what could Ramiz want with our hero Choi? She said he has to make it to at least the top 8 by the end of the tournament.
Otherwise, he'll be sent to the 2nd Corps as research material. And she also mentioned something about protection fees 2 hours after the tournament starts.
There are some pretty simple rules in the tournament, and for the first race, they're really straightforward.
All they have to do is reach the destination. There are no other rules. In other words, they'll be forgiven if they accidentally kill the other competitors. But look who's happy to hear he has a free pass to kill whoever he wants. That rat. All he wants is to kill that arrogant human. He then gives the command to start the race. Well, the race begins with Choi in the lead, but the rat can fly and will definitely overtake everyone. Well, but it seems he's not worried about overtaking everyone. He shouts that he's accidentally falling on top of everyone, but he's actually aiming exclusively at our protagonist. Raquel creates a shield to protect him, and if he keeps going at this speed, he'll end up among the bottom 100. The rat is already beside him, running and gathering power in his hand while saying this will be his last race. He unleashes that power, but is blocked by the shield. But then that rat uses a power 5 times greater and gathers even more power, making it 10 times stronger. And in doing so, he split that attack into several, which means it became much weaker. But there are still a lot of them. That attack didn't just hit Choi, it hit everyone who was running. The rat starts shouting that the human is attacking everyone with a long-range weapon, in other words, turning everyone against Choi. Everyone charges forward to kill that disgusting human. After all, nobody likes him there anyway. The rat passes by him while telling him to try and escape this time if he can. Well, now Choi has no choice but to run from that pack of monsters as fast as he can. And what a treat, there are only 76 monsters in front of him, with about 24 left to go. As he runs, one of the monsters shoves him so hard that it even manages to break through the barrier. He wasn't expecting that, but as he falls to the ground, he remembers that Cowhead said the combat skills he's learned so far are incompatible with humans. The promotion and combat skills he has were made for demons, which is why he needs to create his own set of abilities. But those 10 days weren't wasted, finally completed the fusion of Eames' demonic chi and human magical power, which allowed him to develop his own unique skill, an ability that only he can use. Everyone knows that purple has been a symbol of nobility for a long time, so the name of his ability will be Noble Skill. His feet begin to be imbued with a kind of purple energy, and his magical power increased from D to C, while his demonic chi rose from E to C. Well, that noble skill, which means birth in purple, in ancient terms refers to the birth of a noble. The fusion of two existing forces giving life to a new force is a unique combat technique of Choi, based on purple power that combines magic and demonic chi, but his proficiency is still very low, at less than 1%. He grabs the head of that green monster while using the noble skill in the King's Pass, and he throws that guy far away as he passes by all the monsters. The speed at which he moves is so great that everyone only sees a purple energy passing by them. Well, he keeps overtaking all the opponents as he continues to cut through the path, passing everyone. 95 have already reached the finish line, and there are only 5 more people left to pass, and he keeps going at full speed. The rat can't believe that guy is already there. Ah, how delightful. They met less than 5 meters from the finish line, and as everyone knows, Choi is not going to miss the chance to return the favor. So he activates Hydron's third formation. His whole body becomes rigid, like a bull charging, about to reach its target, and he headbutts the rat right in the middle of the back. Inevitably, the rat is knocked out of the race and crashes into a wall, making it impossible for him to continue. Now, that goat has learned that you shouldn't mess with Choi. Well, Choi also lost control and fell down there along with the rat. The rat gets up and says he's gonna kill Choi, but then realizes the race is already over, so he won't be able to do that. The 100 people who passed the first round will play their next game in 3 days, so everyone is now dismissed. So that night, in a forest near the Black Fortress, that former heroine can't believe that Eames is really going to release this in the tournament, but all Eames says is that it's been a long time since she's seen Modem. Well, a magic circle along with a lot of blood forms beneath some armored feet as he says that it's been 97 years, 3 months, and 11 days since he last saw Eames. Apparently she managed to summon Igris, is that right? Meanwhile, the knight asks how he can be of service to her. This is Motem, a familiar of Eames, and his power level is at 198,532 points. Eames explains a plan to Morton. All she wants is for him to take all the flags from the participants, but he must be careful. If there is any participant, interesting, he should be gentle with this one. But the former heroine says it's very easy to talk, and apparently, Eames has been taking orders that are much more sentimental than before. Sentimental? What does she mean by that? Commander of the 4th Corps, has she still not understood why the demons are losing this war so badly to the humans? Well, the reason is obvious. A war with 5 human kingdoms against the demon kingdom is getting worse and worse for the demons, and main reason is that the demons always try to solve everything through brute force.
knows if they lose in terms of strength,
They will lose everything. Unfortunately, they accept all of this far too easily. Those humans are extremely different. If they are at a disadvantage,
they avoid fighting, and by doing so,
simply buy time to even the playing field. For that reason, the Demon King's army keeps losing to weak humans. Like you, she, as the commander of the 4th Corps, will have to study a lot. Well, the rules for the second tournament,
teams of 4 formed randomly.
each team is assigned 2 flags, and after 48 hours,
The 10 teams with the most flags,
advance to the next round. And teams without a flag at the end are disqualified, regardless of their ranking.
a little farther from there,
While the protagonist is crying, the rat is quite happy for having used his first human as bait to be able to distract everyone and finally win that race.
a brilliant plan.
But all Shoy wanted was not to be on the same team as this guy.
Well, this is Team 9,
Made up of Rugot, Clean, Fedson, and Shoy. Shoy is starting to get annoyed with that rat
while he keeps bragging about having broken his time limit, finishing
in just over 25 minutes. The tournament ranking ended up as follows.
Team 5 with 9 flags,
Team 2 with 8 flags,
Team 3,
with 24 flags, Team 4 with 9 flags.
Team 5 with 3 flags.
Shoy's team is number 4.
When he saw those rankings, the rat quickly stopped bragging along with his whole team.
Then everyone hears the sound of metal and Shoy turns to see who's there. Well, when he sees that guy in that metal armor,
He uses the glasses to measure the force.
well, that guy's strength is at 198,000.
532
Everything suggests that guy.
is messing with the scoreboard. But the rat jokes and asks if he's a golden goblin.
Shoy's whole team charges at that guy, while Shoy shouts that they can't fight that guy.
The rat tells Shoy to shut up while calling him a coward.
All Shoy's team wants to do is kill that guy and take all his flags. Unfortunately, that's not possible. That Metal Knight took down all 3 of them while they were still in the air.
And also took their flags. If Shoy's team can't get their flags back from Moten, everything lost.
The former heroine thinks it will all be pointless. They'll never be able to beat Moten
Using their abilities,
But I'm starting to understand Ems's plan
she wants to study Shoy and understand how his good use.
of his intelligence and strategy. The time limit is now 11 minutes.
And the ranking is as follows.
Team 8 with 7 flags. Second 5, the third with 3, and the fourth with a total of 20 flags.
And Team 9
Sadly,
with 0 flags.
unfortunately now, there's only 1 minute left.
The team
From Shoy
is determined to recover all of their flags.
While Shoy says that the only weapon they can use is just intelligence against this guy, but Moten knows that those guys are the ones he took the flags from earlier.
Shoy coordinates the whole team and asks the goat
To launch a magic attack.
Well, the goat met the rat, follows the orders, and activates a magical power at full strength.
She throws it at Moten, while Moten stands still and takes the power head on, but it did nothing but raise dust. Now it's Ikleek's turn. That eagle. She charges toward the knight and dives through the air, but the knight remains motionless. He analyzes the situation and realizes that this is a coordinated attack. This is the first team to use small tricks like this. Unfortunately, the eagle's dive didn't work because the knight grabbed it by the neck while still in air. As the eagle screamed, the knight said they were all pathetic, nothing but slow trash. Even the demonic energy he has is pathetically weak. Meanwhile, Shoy runs toward the knight to try to save the eagle. He shouts that now is the centipede's turn. When Shoy is very close to the knight, the centipede
Emerges from the ground and wraps itself around the knight's body.
got you with this one, knight. Now, Shoy begins to activate his power. Shoy radiates all the energy of nobility and activates the king's step. He's very close to grabbing some flags, but at the last moment, with less than 5 centimeters left to reach, the knight said it was a great team effort.
But unfortunately, it's not going to work.
Then he grabs Shoy's head, stopping the attack. While holding Shoy's head, he steps on the centipede, and now there are only 15 seconds left. While he crushes the eagle's neck and holds Shoy's head, he crushes the centipede. There's something that intrigues him. This magical power he just emanated. He's never seen it before. And now there are only 10 seconds left. Time is almost up. Shoy makes proposal. If he wants to find out so badly,
Now it's all or nothing.
he told the guy to brace himself for the impact
If he's able to figure it out,
and activates the magical power. Demonic Kai explosion. The knight withstands all of it head on. And now there are only 5 seconds left.
with 4 seconds remaining, the knight removes his hands from Shoy's head.
As he falls, there are 3 seconds left. And in the middle of that explosion, both of them fell.
With 2 seconds left, and in the final second,
The knight manages to steady himself on the ground.
and Shoy unfortunately fell.
But the match ends right there. The knight still doesn't understand what happened. Did he unleash his magic in a massive explosion?
The flag count is about to begin,
Now, unfortunately, this guy doesn't have enough power.
but Shoy didn't die. He opens his eyes and calls him a soda can't.
Shouting for him to look behind him, that goat managed to grab a few flags that were on the knight's back.
He really thought that Shoy would blow himself up without a good plan.
It was definitely all planned from the start.
Yeah, it was a terrible encounter. and now they're tied for 7th place. Team 15, 4 and 21. He knows they could never beat that Man of Steel, but even so, he flips him the middle finger. And now Team 9 also manages to advance to round 2. Shoei has a new ability, the Demonic Kai Explosion. She used demonic key magic to unleash explosions and then releases the explosive power that results outward. But its efficiency is pretty low, about 0.11%. Sometime later, in M's office, she asked the knight what he thought. He expects anything from a human except possessing and using demonic ki, completely mixed with mana. He's also quite talented, quick on his feet, very courageous, and makes good judgments. And to be frank, he's much better than most demons he has ever seen. She knows she needs a change so great that it can alter the course of destiny. And together with the knight, maybe he can teach a few things to Shoei. A little farther away, in the Divine Empire of Gartran, unfortunately Lord Giffen ended up failing. And this guy was a hero level talent, but even so, he disappeared in such an insignificant way. And now, what will his papal majesty do about the saint? But he said it doesn't matter. After all, that saint is nothing more than a princess from a minor nation. Now, all he will do is remove Belsamario from her candidacy for the next saint. But he knows they can't do that abruptly, without a reason. So they should announce that that bitch is a skeptic and has ties to the Demon King's army. He sits down, asking about the next item. The Devourer is causing quite a lot of trouble again. They've done a lot of research, including espionage. She's been commanding troops and restructuring her command. From the looks of it, she plans to select the officers based on ability through a tournament he heard about. He analyzes the information while thinking that maybe he should sabotage the tournament. But unfortunately, that's not going to be possible. They contacted the Demon King and he refused immediately, which means that causing more trouble. The glutton would be extremely problematic. The Pope suggests sending one of their heroes. Maybe, if it's Heine, he might be able to go head-to-head with Commander M's on equal footing. However, they know there's a traitor, Park Yuna. He's currently at that Black Fortress. Everyone knows he has the ancestral power of a hero. I thought this guy was a woman because he wears a skirt, but I forgot that Romans wear skirts too. Anyway, it would be difficult to face both of them at the same time. But the Pope knows that the Demon King is not side by side with Commander M's. Cardinal Urande suggests to His Majesty to cancel operations, but the Pope asks if he remembers how the Church, the gods, and the Drazen Empire became the two powerful forces that divide the entire continent. All of this is thanks to the necessary evil known as demons. The Pope says that evil must exist so that the light of good, which fights against it, can shine even brighter. So all that brilliance fuels the faith of the ignorant masses, and that very faith becomes the national power of Gartran. But until now, they had been cooperating with the Demon King and manipulating the entire course of the war. But if the demons continue to change their trajectory and evolve, they will become far too difficult to control. The new spy they placed there said that the location of the next match had changed. Ah, he forgot about that. It's all true. But the main match will take place in Inamosite. That place is a forest famous for its monsters. What wonderful news. That place is a bit far from the Black Fortress, which makes the situation perfect. And your Papal Majesty says for the Cardinal to summon the heroes, they will take this opportunity to put their skills to the test. Well, a little farther away. He's really excited that he managed to mix demonic ki, demonic, and mana. And the skill window has become complicated. But the fairy knows that before this, he was basically a one-trick pony who used the bullhead martial art. But anyway, he knows that Hayden's martial art was officially registered in the skill window. The key explosion, magic, while nobility were registered separately. Now, Shoei is already at level 466, and now he has a total of 5 skills. His leadership rank, leadership, has increased. And the new effect that's been added is actually pretty useful. It's leadership, now at type C. Basically, when a subordinate follows the commander's orders, their execution ability increases significantly. But there's still a lot to improve. He needs to get more items to be able to get more statistics and durability. Well, Shoei thought he was alone, but someone whispers very close by that he can't. At this level, he'd better wake up from this dream. Shoei was so startled that he even started to stutter, calling out the name of the 4th Corps commander. Now I'm confused. The Pope calls her he, and with that body, well, to me it's she. She calls him dung, while saying he's noisy. Stay quiet, your mouth, and say exactly how many hero points he has. He has few points, 1,300. And what's the shop rank? No, intermediate. She finds this annoying. This guy's terrible. Shoei feels humiliated and asks which item she bought at that level. Does she think experience comes for free? Then it's going to be a two-way street. If she tells him, then he'll have to answer everything she asks. All right, among the skills, the aura type ones are good, but he already has aura. So basically, all he needs to do is upgrade the shop level. That way, he can buy the pocket dimension. That item is like an inventory. When it was her turn, the price was really low for what it could offer, but Shoei never heard of pocket dimension, which means it's a kind of item that comes in the next update. Yes, she's already said everything she had to say,
Now it's her turn. She asks if he is a hero, and he says he is. And second, what is he doing in the Demon King's army? And he says he ended up here pretty much out of nowhere. How can he use both demonic eye and mana together? He doesn't understand, but said that it all just happened. All right, so that means he's a hero who ended up joining the Demon King's Demon King, and somehow he knows how to use demonic key and mana. Judging expression, she thinks this is all a lie, while shouting at him to tell the truth. She kicks him right in the face. But all he can say is that she is also in the Demon King's army. Sometime later, she goes over to Shoy and asks him if he wants to be transferred to the 4th Corps. She'll take him there personally. But after that whole massage sequence all over his body, naturally he said no. So, all right, she keeps using him as a seat while asking what his reason and purpose for being there is. But then he tells the whole truth, that if he doesn't do everything Miss M says, he's going to die. Well, to make things easier, she grabs a weight of 59 kilos and puts it on his leg while asking what his next goal is. And he says, as if it were the most natural thing, that is to marry a noblewoman, blonde, rich, and become the father of 5 children. That answer caught her completely by surprise. She gets off of him. She knows that damn imps won't let him go no matter what. All he has to do now is rest. So she leaves, letting him rest. While Shoy is resting, he realizes he's more attached to life than he actually expected. Then, time later, on the day of the tournament, precisely in round 3, Shoy is already getting ready as he finishes getting dressed. He tells Bobo to take care of the house until he gets back. First, they're heading to Inamo's site. Dongjin turns to him. They're gonna move to the arena. Well, the two of them are really excited to go to the land of beasts, Inamost. After spending some time in that forest, he ended up leveling up after discovering that for every mob he kills, he can gain a level. And he's already managed to level up 4 times. That one was a dryad. Most of the monsters, solitary monsters, are plant-type demon females, and they help other plants reproduce by exchanging pollen. And a big purple orb also appeared, and that thing gives double experience. The third tournament consists of 3 objectives. 1. Survive in the forest of demon beasts. 2. The tournament ends when 10 out of the 24 participants are eliminated. And third, each participant receives a magic item. This is a military item. The tracking orb. That is a demonic orb made to track the movements of all the participants. And its purpose is to entertain Ems even more. It displays everyone's location every hour. The fairy notices that the Demon King's abilities are impressive. They can even use extremely complex spells. And he keeps walking and collecting the monsters he defeats with the sole purpose of getting out of there with all the herbs before anyone else catches up. But before he can finish speaking, he's already hit by a rock right in the middle of his head. And look who I found. This disgusting human, a goat-headed guy, is determined to put an end to this. While the other commander is always stuck in the role of watchdog, well, he's resting peacefully in front of the Inamo site gate. That's a teleportation gate, which is guarded by several guards. That is the only gate that is completely secured, and if that breaks, things are going to get pretty complicated. But that commander couldn't care less about his duty. He doesn't believe anyone could make it to that remote place. But as soon as he went quiet, he felt a sudden presence nearby. So he activates his demonic instincts and senses the presence of a group of humans while thinking that maybe they just went out to hunt monsters. But one thing is certain, he doesn't sense any special amount of magic in them. Could these guys have discovered the location of this gate? Well, that's pretty unlikely. After all, Inamo site is huge, and it's very unlikely that they know about it. But something doesn't add up. So all he decides to do is watch them from a distance. For now, the goat with its horrifying voice starts telling Shoy to tremble before her power and beg for the forgiveness of the great Hogwarts human. And if you don't want to beg, how about running away? After all, there's no shame in leaving with your tail between your legs, alive. Well, after taking a few punches and kicks, the goat is crying, while Shoy wonders whether he should kill him now or later. Poor goat. She sprouts from the ground, saying if he dies, Shoy will regret it because he has a lot of valuable information. But what kind of valuable information would Shoy need? That goat says that all the top-ranked demons have him as their target. But is that the only information he has? Shoy laughs. While saying that he's alone there looking for him, the goat starts sweating while saying there are 5, but Shoy doesn't believe it. And suddenly, he looks and counts 3, 4, 2, while one of them shouts that the goat found the human, and now they're all gonna kill him. While Shoy fights for his life, we return to the great arena of the Black Fortress. While Ems watches everything through some kind of magic circle, she expected everyone would try to go after Shoy first. What a shame. The former heroine tells her to stop laughing while saying she feels sorry for someone. Then suddenly, someone interrupts the transmission while saying they're under attack. The humans are trying to close the gate. He says the enemy is a human raid team, fully equipped with camouflage devices, and for some reason they knew the exact location of their gate. Then the transmission is quickly cut off. Ems calls Hendrum, and he says he'll go check everything that's happening out there. So that means they're fully prepared. She already suspected that information was leaking from somewhere. Where could it be from? I'm sure she already has an idea. After that, we go back to Shoei. All he could do against that squad was run and hide while complaining that everyone is abusing the rules. He tries to hide while everyone is calling for the hero. Since they couldn't find him, in a few hours, a tracking device will reveal his location. Then they'll resume the hunt. Phew, that was a close one. Poor Shoei. He's shaking with fear. Will he be able to survive this? The fairy says that the evolution is going well, but if they start a war against the monsters there, things will get pretty complicated. Maybe the shop could help him somehow. While he's lying down to rest, he checks if the shop has any kind of broken item that could save him from this predicament. He scans the entire shop from top to bottom. Then someone approaches him hooded while asking if he's the hero from the rumors. The guy pulls back his hood and reveals himself, but he's not alone. He's accompanied by more than 16 people. All of them have dark hair, which means they're all heroes, or candidates for everything suggests that Shoei hasn't noticed. He just thinks they're all humans. The guy introduces himself as Hero Andrew Tyler. The system pops up with a sudden hero mission. He has encountered the vile group of heroes, and there's no hope to be found in the fight against those villains. Just survive somehow. The objective of that mission is to survive, and the bonus is to defeat the match. The reward? 1,000 hero points. He says he's the new hero candidate, Shoei, and asks what brings a group of heroes to that region. And they say they're just hunting demons. What a fine mission. To exterminate demons and bring justice to this world, which means that they're on the same mission. So he's gonna leave to hunt some monsters as well and wishes them good luck, trying to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. He turns his back on the enemy, while the other one draws his sword, and Shoei, upon hearing the sound of the sword being unsheathed, start running. While the guy says that he's also there to eliminate the human traitor. Shoei tries to run, but he falls. And then someone arrives to ruin the plans of that hero villain. And it's none other than the GOAT. He showed up there with the entire demon division. The hero has no idea what's going on, but there's one thing Shoei knows. He's never been so happy to see the GOAT head, so he shouts for all the participants to sing the song of the third corps of the Demon King's army. Now, nobody understands what this guy is talking about, including the hero. So Shoei starts singing alone the song of the Demon King's army, and when he recites the chorus that everyone will crush the humans, the GOAT also starts singing that they're going to devour the humans. And with that, he activates the hidden stat, charisma, and his morale with his allies increases drastically. Everyone knows that Goathead gathered everyone there to kill Shoei. He changes plan, and no one can understand what's going on in Goat's head. Goathead charges forward while shouting to all the demons, destroy the humans. Now Shoei is safe. Look at that happy face. He even starts jumping for joy as he heads farther away from there. He said he'll meet everyone in Valhalla because he knows those demons aren't going to last much longer there. But before he can escape, someone grabs him by the collar, and it's the commander. Unfortunately, the gate connected to the castle was completely destroyed during the human ambush, including the guards. Everyone is dead. He barely managed to get out alive as well. There are approximately 40 enemies against him and Shoei. In their battalion, there were 3 people at commander level, and the regiment had one close to the division commander level, which means that maybe they won't be able to get out of that situation alive. And he also has the tracking curse cast on him. But unlike Shoei, he's part of high command of the Demon King's army, so everyone will only attack Shoei. Shoei suggests commander break the tracking spell, but that's going to be impossible because they don't have any time to spare. It'll take too long. But then that purple orb emits a danger notification that there is a master level demonic beast nearby. And just like the last times, our boy had a brilliant idea. He calls the commander and says he has an idea, a very interesting idea. This time, he wipes away his tears as he looks at the system. That group of heroes easily managed to eliminate all the demons. But unfortunately, the traitor escaped, so they head into the forest, hunting down the traitor hero. One of them said that the traitor hero's location is to the east, but he's not the only one there. A flock lady is there as well. Flock lady, this colossal monster has an average combat power of about 250,000 to 300,000. It is a predator-type monster, specifically the strongest predator in Inimo's sight. Basically, it's a huge plant-type beast, classified as high risk, and it needs at least a hero-level fighter to be able to subdue it. Can this group really defeat such a monster? But the losses will be enormous. When Flock Lady emerges, everyone world can hear the creature's sound. That monster is a being of colossal proportions. It emerges in front of everyone. That mess of humans and monsters caught its attention, and probably he's certain it was the traitor. He used an item, a pheromone perfume. This perfume emits an aroma that demonic beasts like. It has a fairly wide effect, but its effect is quite weak, and it increases the beast's affinity with humans. He spent about 10 points. Both the commander and our hero dressed up as female dryads. While using a promote command, Shoei kept laughing, while saying he would do anything to survive, even if he had to turn into a female plant. The red-haired hero couldn't believe that Shoei would lower himself to such a level just to survive. Then he leaps. Shoei shouts, "Here he comes!" The commander jumps in front of Shoei and blocks the red-haired hero's attack, leaving him with no options. In this way, he activates an advanced hero system. First form, the hero's path. The battle continues practically even. Both are extremely strong. But then, that hero's helpers appear. While all the heroes gather together and start attacking the commander, Shoei shouts for him to hold on longer. He'll stick to plan and keep killing more small mobs. The redhead doesn't understand anything. Then, does that mean his plan is just to keep stalling? But the commander saves his words and says nothing. He just watches. Before facing the enemy at the top of Flock Lady, Shoei had explained the entire plan to the commander. All he had to do was keep running and try to tire out the enemies as much as possible. And if necessary, use the demonic beast as a shield against attacks. That way, he could use the stealth skill, stealth in the whip, quick movement, and also binding magic, as if he were a kind of support from medium to long range. Meanwhile, Shoei took care of everything else, but Shoei knew that the key to this plan working was to never fight head-on. The name of this operation this time will be "You Come to Me." The commander of the heroes is starting to get irritated because all that guy does is dodge attacks and keep dodging and running. How long is he going to keep avoiding this fight? But the commander still doesn't say anything, while thinking that humans fight like this with a completely cowardly method. While the commander of the heroes tries to get close to the commander of the demons, the plant monster gets in the way a lot. But thanks to that, they can buy some time. Sometime later, Shoei is taking care of the remaining heroes, and one of them said that they had received an order to kill the traitor. Since he had no choice, he must obey, and charged at Shoei, shouting that he had to go to hell. He throws several blows, but none of them land while Shoei dodges, and he notices that this guy is really strong. Just 4 strikes would be enough to cut him in half. However, his fighting style is extremely predictable and easy to avoid, which means that he is just replicating moves he learned like a little predictable machine. So Shoei takes advantage of one of his openings, sweeps legs out, and stomps hard right in the middle of his neck. And after that, he drives his head into the ground with his feet. In this way, he levels up several times. And this fight was much easier than he thought. Even the movements prove it. They really are human. But Shoei has had Promote activated for a long time. At this rate, his stamina will run out, and his ability to handle demonic ki has gone up from C to B. His body is getting so used to the demonic ki that he's even starting to grow horns. And even his skin has taken on a reddish tone. A system issues a notification that his body has temporarily synchronized with the body of a demon, and the transformation has begun. He doesn't know how much longer he can last, and that demonic beast is also dying. The hero says that he has nothing special except for the incredible ability to run away. Even the most basic moves are capable of killing him now. He smiles and says that heroes get stronger every time they kill demonic beasts or demons, and his level is already 983. After he finishes killing this demonic being he's using as a shield, he'll easily reach level 1000. As he says this, he strikes at Roger, who manages to block it with considerable difficulty. While Roger is blocking in midair, he tries to find Choi, but suddenly he sees a red demonic hand. The fight is quite balanced. The attacks keep coming and Roger keeps getting pushed further and further back, and he no longer knows how much longer he can hold out. While that plant-type demonic beast roars in its final moments, they reach the monster's most vulnerable spot, as the hero says that once he manages to increase his attributes, Roger will be considered small fry and it will be a breeze to destroy him. He then gets ready to destroy the monster. Roger said that running away was part of the plan. He activates a spell in his hand and several chains appear. This is the multiform movement restriction. Roger throws his movement restricting chains at him. Choi arrives just in time. Now they're moving on to the second part of the plan, and it's called Steal by Killing. This guy only comes up with weird names for his plans. The second part of the plan will be as follows. He will keep killing the minions before the demonic beast dies, and after that he will keep getting in the hero's way. Then he'll show up at just the right moment. As soon as the monster is about to die, he'll arrive and land the final blow. Roger doesn't believe this plan will work, but they don't have much of a choice. Choi's plan is actually pretty good, but it has 2 flaws. The first is, can he really come back after the promotion ends? And the second, is he really confident that he can beat that guy after gaining more levels? But to be honest, the chances are less than 1%. But if they give up, the chance drops to 0. There's not much choice but to try. And if the only options he has are 1 or 0, he's gonna bet everything on that 1%. While the hero tries to land the final blow on the beast, he realizes he's been caught in a restraining skill. Now that they're already in the second stage of the plan, Roger reveals that they have a hero, so he doesn't need to get too excited. That hero can also level up. He looks back and is startled to see a human demon. While he was trapped trying to land the final blow, Choi arrived really fast, shouting that every last hit belongs to him and no one else. and after finishing off the monster, he gained several levels. That demonic beast held out for quite a while, but unfortunately, it died. Roger couldn't keep fighting this guy anymore, and he showed up at the perfect time. And now that the real fight is about to begin, well, actually it's time for this hero to get beaten up. Does this bastard really think he can win just because he stole a kill from him? So he activates the 7th form of the Dragon Slayer swordsman and charges at Choi. Choi manages to block everything, but as the hero keeps landing blows, he realizes that this guy is a close combat fighter, which means he can't let him get near. When he pauses his attacks for a moment, all he can see are Choi's eyes. Choi leaps, dodging all the strikes, and charges at the hero with explosive speed. The hero can't believe that this guy could be faster than the 7th form of the advanced heroic swordsman, but before he could even blink, Choi landed a kick right in the middle of his chest, sending him flying. The kick was so powerful that the guy's body was hurled far away, destroying everything in its path, and only stopped when it hit a rock wall. As he felt the pain of his body breaking into pieces, he wondered, who is this bastard? Could he be a real demon? His vision starts to darken as he sees Choi in front of him. Choi comes up close and asks if he knew. While landing several kicks on the hero, he finishes his question, asking if he knew whether all the opponents he fought up until now were stronger than him. But instead of answering, all the hero can do is scream in pain. Choi grabs his head and slams it into the ground, squeezing the head of that fake hero, and tells him that through this fight he realized something very interesting. The hero begs him to stop, please, but all Choi says is that if there is no end, there will be no levels either. He channels a power of demonic ki mixed with mana into his fist, while the hero screams that he is also a hero and that everyone is working on the same side. But Choi doesn't listen and lands several blows right in the middle of the hero's arrogant face. And with that, Choi emerges victorious. And to Choi, that hero was nothing more than just another number. After the battle was over, he managed to gain several levels. He even unlocked the fighting spirit. That skill grants increased resistance to mental debuffs and also boosts focus during combat. And he already started with 10 points. After the fight was over, his body returned to normal. Everything hurts, and he even thinks he's going to die. The commander comes over and asks if he's okay. And he's almost dead, but he's fine. The commander throws a red-colored drink in Choi's face. Well, it tastes terrible, but it was his fairy who gave it to him. That's a high-quality healing potion, and she even handed it over while crying. This potion slightly restores mana and can also heal some wounds, but it costs about 500 hero points. That's a really expensive item. Where did she get it from? She got it after the heroes were killed? And Choi didn't know this. When you kill a hero, they drop everything they were carrying. Well, the heroes in that world are pretty strange. Everyone thought that heroes should be righteous people who fight against evil to save the world. But in this world, after you kill heroes, you gain experience and also items. And he feels bad because he just did something only a villain would do and yet nothing happened. This pathetic point of view only comes from humans, and in the eyes of a demon, he is a hero. The commander tells him not to get too attached to human morality, because everyone knows that in a war there are always two sides. Right and wrong depend on your point of view and are not absolute. Choi believes that the commander is just trying to comfort him. The commander tells him to shut up and rest, while he yells that he's still not fully recovered. His bones are breaking. The commander sent a call for help before the signal was cut off. Reinforcements will probably arrive soon. Suddenly, they see a guy screaming, running at an absurd speed. And look who's there. It's Papa Hydrant. He even brought a portable distortion portal that he made himself. The commander pushes Choi into the portal, and finally they're back at the Black Fortress. Choi is startled because the fortress wasn't like this before. Now it's completely burned, destroyed, and on fire. Whoever did this is going to pay, no doubt about it. That scene catches everyone by surprise, and Remus is up there at the top gathering magical power, while the former heroine is down below shouting at Emis to stop because she's not a traitor. But Emis doesn't care whether she's a traitor or not. She just wants to take her anger out on someone. Her demonic power gathers at the tip of her finger as she says she won't let anyone sit beside the Demon King. The former heroine has no choice but to fight for her own life. And since she has no other option, she also gathers power in her hand. Remus unleashes her power from the skies, and it proves to be a supermassive energy that crashes down, breaking everything. A catastrophic explosion. As the dust settles, we see a mysterious silhouette and some enormous horns. This person calls out Remus's name while saying that the Demon King sent him there to ask her to stop now. This is the commander of the 5th Corps, the chief of the Kaldum tribe, Ozygis. The battle has only just begun. How did this guy get here so quickly? But Emis is no fool, and she wonders how the Demon King knew she would go after that former heroine. And she smiles as she says that this little bitch was nothing but bait, which means there's someone else spying on her. Crowder says that Remus is making too many assumptions. She points her finger as she asks, "Assumptions?
Are they really just assumptions? Then she lands gently near the 5th commander and says that even though she was punished for saving Hotak from the humans, it's been about 100 years confined in that fortress, and he still dares to say she's being arrogant and paranoid. As she speaks, all that anger and demonic pressure radiates from her body. She throws out her second to last question: what was her mistake in saving Hotak? And he also thinks she's wrong, doesn't he? Hydron comes running while shouting for Remus to stop, but the 5th commander notices Hydron's presence, and seeing Remus and Choi, she calms down and says she's done enough. As she puts her hand on his shoulder, she tells him to thank his nephew for saving his life today, Ozygus. Later in his room, Choi wonders what Emis was thinking. Why was she hitting everyone? The entire army in that fortress is a complete mess. The Saint heard that he became the battalion commander. Does he intend to stay like this for a long time? But Choi knows that both of them are enemies of Garthan, and it's going to be a bit complicated to live among humans now that he has horns growing on his head and also possesses demonic chi. But even though he knows little about the heroes, the ones he has met are quite strange. They just look like zombies controlled by someone, except for the strongest hero. They seem like puppets, pale, colorless, and emotionless. But the Saint wouldn't know anything about that, right? Unfortunately, she was expelled, so she doesn't know anything. All she knows is that the Divine Empire has many strong heroes. Most of that war with the demons is handled by priest-class heroes, but there's only one reason. Why the Divine Empire has so many heroes and how their heroes become so strong so quickly still remains a secret. But people say they use inhumane methods. And on the other hand, the Drasen Empire is known for rejecting heroes. While they are talking, Raindren opens the door and comes in already smiling, apologizing for totally ruining the mood. Emis requests the presence of Choi and also the Saint. So they go to Remus's office and she says he will have a new mission. They need to install a spatial interference magic field. Basically, it's a barrier that will prevent unauthorized teleportation. That way, they will be safer against assassin. Imagine if in the middle of the night he wakes up with an assassin teleporting into his room. He wouldn't want that, right? Only the second body can do this, which means Choi is going to take quite a business trip as the doctor's personal messenger. Well, neither of them should die on that mission, but she says they're expensive and she's protecting both of them without getting anything in return. They're basically earning their keep. So once again, it's up to Commander Roger to do the grunt work, and this time she's sending a super strong guide with the two of them. She writes a letter asking Roy to take good care of the Saint and Choi. And if anything happens to the second corps, he already knows what will happen. With love, Remus. A little farther away, in the Demon King's meeting room, everyone notices that Hotak hasn't shown up again. Osigris says that Hotak never shows up to the previous meetings anyway, so it's all the same. That one is Doratugus, the commander of the First Corps. He's starting to get annoyed. That guy never shows up, and even though the meeting isn't mandatory, he's still irritating. Meanwhile, Park, sprawled out in her chair, says that even if he were here, he'd just be watching from hiding anyway, so he won't be missed at all. Remus, silent, just observes, and then the Supreme Commander and also Demon King, Taggart, says they'll continue the meeting without him. And today's agenda is about the third commander, Remus. She has been holding major events without submitting any kind of report. While she was doing this, the borders were left open and humans entered, managing to kill many demons. A total of 97 dead and 100 wounded. And there are still many missing. And as if all that mess in the Third Corps wasn't enough, Remus simply attacked the fourth commander for no reason at all. And as everyone already knows, there are rules regarding fights between commanders. No one should initiate a duel without his prior approval, which means they are all there to discuss Remus's punishment. And if anyone has any objections, they should speak up now. Well, how rude. Remus herself has an objection. In her defense, she says she only did it because someone was spying on her. She attacked the fourth commander because she thought she was the spy. She believes that the most important thing would be to find out who the spy is first. But the Demon King sees this as an affront. But she remains calm and says it's just a suggestion. The Supreme Commander, the Demon King, grips his chair and feels insulted. Still in the Demon King's castle, in the hallway, in front of the meeting room, the fifth commander says that no one there was able to control their emotions and that meeting was a complete failure. That the Demon King and Emis are inseparable. And every time she remembers this, she gets quite irritated. Yeah, in fact, that's almost impossible. After all, they were very close. Clashes between the two will become more and more frequent from now on, and the day will come when they will have to discuss which side they are on. In the Magic Tower of the Fourth Corps, a very beautiful and sturdy place. It's the first time Choi has seen that Magic Tower. Then someone arrives to welcome the new guests. Well, this time I was right. They really do look like rats. Roger hands over the letter and the guards take them to the commander. Already inside Hotak's office, the commander of the Second Corps, there he is, a giant rat, literally lying in his armchair.
He looks quite thoughtful. How can a human use dark mana?
And even his body is turning into a demon, but the order in the letter was clear. He wasn't to be killed, just observed. Still, he knows that a human remains a human. No matter how much they try to imitate humans, that's all they'll ever be, imitators. Well, the door opens. Roger introduces himself as the commander of the Second Corps while saluting together with Choi. The rat quickly jumps from his chair over to Choi to examine that whole fragile body. As he touches Choi, he realizes he can't feel anything, so he tries to squeeze a bit harder. Well, his a bit is actually very strong. Sometimes Choi even jumps, but Choi is tough and endures everything without screaming.
But unfortunately, even though he endured everything without screaming, he couldn't stay on his feet afterward and collapsed.
The rat finds it all fascinating.
A wonderful evolution for a human, but since he's a demon doctor, he knows that if things continue like this, Choi will be dead in less than 3 months. Choi's body is turning into a demon.
He was lucky that only small parts changed.
When the transformation reaches his organs, the corrupt mana will consume everything.
The liver and kidneys are important, of course, for a human, but if his heart or lungs are damaged, he'll die instantly.
But Choi says he doesn't feel anything. The rat leaves, saying that if he doubts it, just wait. He picks up a piece of paper and says that this is a demon contract and it only reveals the truth. That contract states that Hotak is certain the human Choi will die within 3 months. Therefore, Hotak will treat that human Choi, but only if Choi agrees to participate in an experiment. But he can rest assured because those experiments will not cause Choi's death. After Choi signs, he can't complain if his body, let's say, becomes a little deformed during the treatment. And he also can't complain if he loses part of his intelligence, ego, or if other things diminish during the treatment. If you know what I mean, you get it? Choi doesn't know whether to laugh or cry, whether to sign or refuse. The saint shouts for Choi to quickly sign the contract, and if anything happens, she will take care of treating him. But the rat gets annoyed because he knows that dark mana and divine power come into conflict if they're together. And the only reason her healing worked is because 90% of Choi's body is still human. And the more he becomes a demon, the less divine power will help him. The rat says seriously, 3 months at most. If he doesn't choose, he'll die. Well, a little later, in the men's room of the Second Corps, the fairy can't stop crying because her hero has a terminal illness and his doctor is a psychopathic rat. And what a wonderful thing. He also has to sign a contract with some very interesting liability waiver terms. Choi still hasn't signed the paper and says he'll find some way to get the treatment without being part of the experiment. The commander asks if he can't contact Hemis first, while explaining that it's unofficial, but there is a ranking system among the commanders, like a ranking pyramid, and maybe with pressure from Hemis, the second commander will give up.
Sometime later, Choi goes to the room of the psychopathic rat.
He tells the guards to let him in, while noticing that he's holding something as he enters. Well, the rat is extremely curious.
They place a purple orb on the commander's table, while Roger says he's going to call her now.
The rat knows that what they're holding is a communication orb. He calls Ames, and the rat immediately changes his demeanor, saying that the last time they saw each other was at the last regular meeting. But there's something she needs to ask the doctor in person, and he should add it to the contract.
Hotak will do his best to treat Choi.
2. Hotak will not harm Choi. And 3. Hotak cannot alter Choi's body without his permission. And finally, Hotak will not let Choi die until the contract is over.
Hotak is furious about these new clauses.
Why should he go to such lengths to help a mere human? Hemis folds her hands and calmly asks, who took him in, fed him when he was cast out by all his people 350 years ago? And who helped him win the commander selection tournament about 200 years ago? And she keeps asking, who saved you when the humans almost killed you 100 years ago? And as if that weren't enough, who has been trapped in the Black Star because of it to this day? Hotak doesn't need to answer.
If he already knows, then shut up and sign.
The rat was left with his hands tied. She's got that guy on a leash. Hotak is furious and wants revenge on Hemis and that damned human. While the veins bulge on his head and he radiates a dark aura, he shouts for them to bring the communication orb now. Well, it's no wonder he was expelled from his own kind. Even by rat standards, he's a rat. I put a lot of effort into making this video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. The work broke some already established patterns, and I really liked it. And if this video does well, we'll bring new chapters. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.